HP. We're good. Let's go.
Yo, how's it going, everyone?
Yo.
Hello.
All right, I'd like to welcome everyone to the first episode of the Content Corner. It's good to be here. Of course, this is a podcast featuring a special group of Celeste speedrunners. So we're gonna do some quick introductions.
Whoa.
Okay.
That's a strong claim.
Yeah. If you don't know what a podcast is, imagine there's a bus and it reaches its stop every 21
Wait.
minutes.
What are you talking about?
Wait a minute.
Yeah, this podcast goes by frame rules. You heard it here first.
Okay, we're currently behind a couple of frame rules because someone needs to take a piss and still has not taken said piss.
Okay. Alright. We started like 3 minutes late, and it's my bad, and I need to apologize.
Okay, first of all, we were already gonna start 1 minute late because Brady was still in bed.
Hold on. I just want to interject. That's totally reasonable. Okay.
That's more
That's a
reasonable.
classic. That's a Brady
All right,
classic.
you know what? Instead of flaming people, we should introduce the people here. How about that?
Nah.
I hate Oddbod.
What? Bro.
Okay,
I love Brady.
I don't know if you guys are seeing on screen the order, but I'm gonna go in that order, and I'm to the left because I'm most important. So hi, my name is M Sushi. This is my Twitch channel, so I will remind you every 5 minutes to subscribe with Twitch Prime. I'm a Portal and Celeste speedrunner, and I'm going to France in 3 weeks. Thank you.
Very cool. I think on the layout, I'm next. Hi, I'm Lori. I speedrun everything except Celeste. Literally everything. I did run Celeste once, though, and I hate the game.
What an intro.
All right. That means it's my turn. Hello, I'm Blue Eye. I speedrun Celeste and only Celeste. Used to dabble in stuff like Cuphead occasionally, but now we're back on the grind. And I'll be at ESA in a few weeks.
Yo. Hey, I am Flare Bear. I specialize in mainly speedrunning platformers like Cat and
Who
Celeste.
clapped?
I played Celeste for a while just to play as a side game to my main game Hat in Time, which I've like run for 2 years. That's what got me into speedrunning. Between those two games, I've done 3 marathon runs, mainly at GDQs, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Nice. I am Fel. I speedrun Celeste, and as of recently, Super Monkey Ball 2. Not really been in the speedrunning scene for too long, but it's been a lot of fun.
Fella's a monkey ball lord.
That's true.
It's like the
Yes.
first day in school. It's like, and who are you?
It's your turn, Oddball. What would you like to share with the class?
The people know.
No, that's okay. You don't need to tell anyone.
Oddbot is the
I
person in
know
class
it's
who's getting nervous. He's trying to think of in his head how to say here, back in the classroom.
Can I actually flame like left for a second?
Okay.
Ow.
Like, because I very much care about the B not being capitalized, and he didn't do it. Can we fix that? I'm
Oh
actually
my
pissed.
God.
You should
like,
have
kinda.
asked him.
I didn't see it until now. You think I pay attention? Like,
That's not his fault.
I mean, it kind of is.
Flarebear
This is
originally had the
officially
F
an
capitalized,
Oddbot
and I
problem.
said uncapitalize the F, or we're gonna have problems.
Lev, if you're listening, like, let's you do it right now and then like you push it out.
Oddbot is that kid in school who has prepared his entire speech. Like 5 minutes ahead, he has whispered it to himself, and then it's his turn, and he just goes blah, 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 hi.
Yeah, alright
Every
indeed.
time I try and speak.
So, how many of us have started with Celestis?
Ooh, me.
Got me.
Because I think it's me and Fel.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Dang.
I just thought speedrunning was for elite gamers only.
Yeah.
Turns
It was
out
like-
it doesn't matter.
Super Metroid was kind of way too hard to learn.
Super
Honestly.
Metroid's a bad game.
That was really. I had a big barrier of entry, and then a little bit of what was it, Mario Odyssey, and then Celeste came out. So like, well, this is for me.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Things like this project are kind of an example of that, but I think something really special about the Celeste community in particular is that like a lot of the inner Celeste community is built up of like a bunch of different types of people, like other than Celeste speedrunners, like for the most part.
That's true.
Like within the top runners of the game, even if you just look at the leaderboards, you can pick out the top runners of a bunch of different games.
Yeah.
It's just something that pretty much anyone can like take the time to get good at if they properly sit down and do it.
So yeah, now that we've had that out of the way, this is, of course, as you can tell by the title, this is going to be a Celeste-focused podcast. Obviously, the one thing we all share is Celeste, and basically the way this friend group came together is that we all loved circle jerking about Celeste every day, so we made an elitist Discord, and now we're actually just complete homies. We're complete bros. So we're gonna
I got invited to play Minecraft.
Exactly. That just
clear.
shows the extent. So this is really just gonna be, we're gonna try to talk about a lot of things, but this podcast is mainly going to be Celeste and or speedrunning focused. But yeah.
Yep.
I figured do we want to all talk about, I think we alluded to the fact of that Fel and Blue Eye, this Celeste actually being their first speed game, but do we all want to talk about how we found Celeste? Because I think that would be a cool thing to talk about for extending our introductions.
All right. Well, I'm gonna give a little teaser into my segment, and I'm gonna pick someone out who I want to start, because the person who actually introduced me to Celeste for the first time is Oddbod. So Oddbod, how
Really?
did you find this game?
Wait, I want to hear the story about how I introduced you to it.
Because you were talking about it in the State Brigade, like right when I joined the server. Right when I
okay.
started learning Plague was when Celeste came. So
I mean,
talked about it.
My story is actually similar. So yeah, about how did you find Celeste?
Okay, cool. I was playing Shovel Knight, speedrunning it, and I think there was some guy in my chat. I think we were talking about like upcoming indie games, and there was some guy in my chat who was like, "Oh yeah, Celeste looks pretty good." And I was like, "Oh yeah, give me a link," and I checked it, and I saw the thing. I wishlisted on Steam. It comes out on like the 25th of January 2018. I played on that day. I think it's good. I will speedrun the next day. That's how it starts. I mean, that's really all there is to it. Like, I liked it casually, and then, you know.
I just want to add, like, out of all the people here, Oddbody, you were playing the game from day one, right?
Yeah, literally day one.
I know. Has anyone else here played it from literally day one?
I think,
No.
funny
No.
enough, I think I was probably the closest. I probably started
Probably,
playing
yeah.
the game the second out of all of us here.
I remember I played the game through casually in March of 2018, and I think I did 1 or 2 runs, but like I really didn't learn anything. It wasn't until the speed gaming tournament in like June, July, summer in general of 2018, like beginning June is when I started looking at tutorials and looking at strats.
Dude, imagine if the speed gaming tournament never happened. This group might not exist.
Oh,
That
probably
was
not,
insane
yeah.
I was
timeline to
just
think
thinking
about.
that.
Oh, no.
Honestly, like I remember just sitting in the Celeste court with like Moose, Psyched, and Odd. I think just
Yeah,
grinding
that's
out
usually-
80% and chilling.
Yeah,
that was
for
so
those
good.
of you who don't know, which like the server is so big at the point that I feel like maybe half the server population might not even know this. But the way that this Discord and friend group in general started was due to a large speed gaming tournament that was ran, and freaking like Oddbod, Moose, and Psyched were just like practicing and circle jerking in the voice chat of the speed gaming tournament Discord like every day. And it
Yeah.
was like them three and like me and Sushi that were always in there just talking, and eventually we made a server for it. That's pretty much how it started. I found Celeste like not actually day one, but like I had a friend. The way I found it was just like the way I commonly get into new games or find new speed games is just because like I have a bunch of Hat in Time friends that like keep up with not really like speedrunning pop culture, I guess, but like kind of like they just knew that it was going to be like really popular from the day that it came out, and so they played it casually and it was really fun, and they recommended it to all of us. So I saw them play it. I think the first time I saw a friend stream it was like Enhu streaming it like week 1 of the game. So that's how I bought it. And I was like, you know what? I've been playing Hat for a while. This game kind of stinks. I'm gonna have this as like a side game because I've never speedrun any other game before other than Hat, and I've been in this community for like a year. So I started playing that. I think I ended up putting more hours into Celeste any percent than I did in Hat any percent eventually, though. There was a point where I
Really?
point where I definitely had more. Because like I pretty much stopped like actually grinding out Celeste whenever I got sub 30 any percent. And it took me over 1,000 hours to get to that point of pretty much like focused effort, which is like way above average, I feel like. If you ask people who got sub 30 like how many hours it took them to get to that point playing the game, I feel like 1,000 is pretty high.
feel
But-
like it's kind of around.
But given, to be fair, that's completely different from like someone that would come into the game from like 6 months ago, or like even like
Yeah.
some like think about when Nero came into the game. Like at that point, because he was probably like the fastest improver out of anyone. He got up there so quickly. It was like no one even had time to react. But like that's at a time where like the game is already more developed, so you come into the game learning at a point where it's already at a higher level, so you have like more information on what people are doing. Because like a lot of
Yeah.
your strats, like learning into the game, you're gonna be like seeing what top level runners do, right? Generally you'll like look at ILs and you'll see what the best ILs do, and you'll just like kind of take down that stuff. And like
Although-
a lot of my hours of playing came from a time when like strats were way less optimized. Only a few of my last any percent PBs like had 5B in them. Like one of my best any percent runs had 5A.
Although that was kind of for me the part of the reason why like running the game was so appealing, because everything seemed so doable in the early days of Celeste. And I guess I'll transition right into haha. Because I remember just being on socials, seeing that this indie game called Celeste was kind of popping off, and I was like, this is platformer. I like platformers. Yeah, sure. Well, why not? I'll try it out. So I think I played it like early February, and since I just started like actually looking at speedrunning, I think I looked up some movement. I think I was Oddboss movement guide back in the day. I was like, wait, this is actually
Kind of
sick.
cringing.
Yeah, I know. This movement is kind of sick. So I started trying like wave dashing and shit while I was beating Summit, because I'm really bad at not spoiling myself, and and it kind of just went on from there, and especially the tournament, just sitting in voice chat, being not so good at Celeste, having a 44 or something. That just was a lot of fun. And then, honestly, I think if that tournament never happened, I probably wouldn't be running the game right now.
Yeah, that's weird. I wonder if this group would have found another way to exist if it weren't for that tournament.
Never thought
Ah,
about
that's
this.
weird.
It's so weird.
I guess I'll go into my story, and I mean, I don't want to say I'm unique because I think everyone's story is unique, but I think it's really weird how I came to find Celeste, because it was literally similar to Flare Bear's friends. I was kind of like in tune with speedrunning. At the time, like, I guess I was very content with like where I was in like Portal and Portal 2 in terms of like skill and clout. Like I felt like I was growing as a streamer and content creator, and I was really happy playing this game. And obviously speedrun.com started, this was around the time they just started sorting from like most games with most runs to most active runners on the main page. So obviously this game called Celeste like essentially came out of nowhere, and it was like number 1 or number 2 most active speed game for a very, very long time. And I was like, I've never heard of this game before. So obviously I checked it out a bit, and I'm usually a really big fan of like indie games. I don't think I'm actually a big fan of indie games. I just think I hate AAA games. But I'm a big indie game guy. And so obviously I saw this game, and I'm like, I saw a bit of the speedrun, and I'm like, of course at the time TGH is the world record, so I was watching his runs, and I kind of like paused, and I'm like, I kind of want to play this game. And it was really funny actually, because I was talking about it a lot on stream. I think I was running like a Portal mod, Portal Stories Mel, and I was in chat like, yeah, like guys, I've been thinking about like playing Celeste. Have you guys heard of that game? Like I think I might stream my blind playthrough, but I haven't actually like bought the game yet. I'm still looking at it. I'm not too sure, because the biggest thing was that the game was a platformer, and Oddbod knows there's a great quote from me about my opinion on 2018 MSushi's opinion about platformers. But
Well, about 2D platforms specifically, right?
2D platformers.
What is the quote?
I believe I said like 2D platformers take no skill, you just copy like the world record's inputs. And this was coming from someone who played only 3D games. So that was pretty funny. And because I remember, it was actually Atme who like during a stream actually just gifted me Celeste, and it wasn't even like,
I'm not surprised.
yeah, I know,
Go on.
right? It's like, it wasn't even like it's not like I wasn't gonna play the game if you didn't gift it to me. I was like 1,000,000% probably gonna buy it. I'm just really indecisive with spending money, but he gifted it to me, and I think the next day I played the game, in afternoon after school, like I got home at like 3 p.m. and I played my first playthrough on a wireless Xbox 360 controller with the analog
Let's
stick.
go.
Oh,
And it took me
baby.
like it took me like 5.5 hours, and I loved the game so much.
What the heck?
I loved the game
Wow.
so much, and it was like literally the next day I started learning the speedrun, and I was still playing with controller at this point. And it's really weird because I feel like obviously I don't have the perspective because I am Sushi, but I feel like even in like the Source community, I was kind of known as a really talented person. I know like even when I just like was learning Portal and Portal 2 and I just started picking up Half-Life, of course, you know, a run that I've worldwide fame for my SGDQ run. But when I started picking it up, a lot of people in the community were like really surprised at how fast I was getting. And it was even like a lot of like my really dedicated chat. Like the second I started learning Celeste, people would be like, damn, Sushi really doesn't have to get the world record. He really doesn't have to like squash TGH like that. But it was really weird because going into a game like Half-Life and like maybe when I learned like Mirror's Edge, I had that perspective of like I wanted to be really good. Celeste for me was like a whole new territory because I'm used to using the mouse and I'm used to using WASD. So for some fucking reason, I just decided let's play with the arrow keys on my keyboard like 50 hours in. In the long haul, it turned out to be a great decision. And yeah, similar to the rest of these guys, right when I started picking up the game, like basically right after I started completing runs, they announced the Speed Gaming Any Percent tournament. And that motivated me a lot to play the game more and get more involved with the community. And that definitely popped this relationship. But
I can confirm as like because as someone with an outside perspective on like your speedrunning capabilities, since you brought that up, I can confirm that like pretty much what I see as your like speedrunning talent is that you're just like a really fast learner. I wouldn't like even though you become like a top runner in games you play, like you can get there really quickly if you want to. I wouldn't call you a nutter. I guess it's funny that that's like an actual term that I can use for speedrunners.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Bye bye.
Yeah, Consistency King Sushi versus Nutter Bye. No, but like, yeah, just like the way you play is never like you're doing the hardest stuff, but you can do like most top level strats and then just like get them down pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, speedrunning is a weird thing because I feel like, I mean, I think it also comes with my love for indie games. 'Cause I think the idea about speedrunning is that people who speedrun just to like achieve good times, they kind of just end up hating themselves. And while I do hate myself about 20% of the time,
Hey.
it's
Only
really
20?
it's really nice that the games I really like, being Portal and Celeste, are really good speedruns. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to
Imagine if your
practice.
favorite game was a bad speed game.
Because that's probably
Like
the
Momo
most
4.
important. That's probably the most
Oh,
important
gosh.
skill that you can have in speedrunning is good practice habits. I feel like I don't actually know how Sushi practices, but if I had to guess, I'd probably say that's like the number one thing that sets him ahead of me is practice habits. Because you just improve really quickly. The other thing is probably mentality.
but at the end
Those
of the
two
day,
things
I can
are
have
good.
a good any percent time, but I can't be Brady Flarebear, which is really my only number one goal in life.
Is to steal Brady Flarebear's identity?
Not
Poggy.
All right, I can kind of, I guess, as we're wrapping up this segment, I can kind of go into how I got into the game. And it's a bit interesting. So I had heard of the game Celeste, because you know this was a time in my life where I was playing Dota just about every day.
Hey.
Hate to see it.
And so you know I was on Steam and Celeste was like highlighted on a sale or something like that. This was like late 2018, like very at the end of the year. No, it wasn't. It was before that. It was in the summer of 2018. So the game had been out for a little bit.
In the summer of
But I didn't have any money at all, like literally none.
What? The
because-
game's $20.
Right. But I also just booked $1,000 trip to go to Vancouver to go to see Ti.
Oh,
Oh wow.
worth. I'm just.
So
Yeah, I'm actually going to quote Riff on that one.
yeah, that was not only was that worth. I mean, it was a pretty efficient trip. It was a 15-day experience that I did for only $1,100, which is not too bad. Not bad at all, honestly.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to that. I didn't have money for games at that point. I was like, I booked these flights. I can't spend money on games. Although this one looks really cool, throw it on the wish list. See what happens. You know, maybe down the road. Little did I know, or I guess little did I know that this is the thing that happened. But at TI, which is for those who don't know, is the Dota World Championships. People that are in the crowd every time that first blood or like the first kill of the match happens in a game, people in the crowd are eligible to receive like a rare like item drop to their Steam accounts just because Valve runs the event, so they
no
can do stuff
way.
like that.
Yep.
So, one of the games, I checked my email after one of the games and I saw, oh, you've received a Crimson Witness treasure. Which is basically like super rare item that you can only get from attending TI and getting super lucky with one of these drops. And so basically I was checking the prices of what they were worth on the Steam Marketplace, and it was at the very minimum like $320.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
That's those items are good money.
That's crazy.
They're insanely rare. So basically, what happened when I got home, I waited a few months for the price to marinate a little bit, and I ended up selling it on the Steam Marketplace for $380.
Jesus.
Holy shit.
I had never, I mean, I can't, like, if I were to think of an indie game that I played as a kid growing up, I don't know if I could think of any. I never was really into indie games or platformers for that matter. I kind of sucked at them. Not a big fan of 2D Mario games at all. I guess the only kind of platformer you could say I was really into as a child was like Mario Galaxy.
That's a good game.
It is a good game, but I mean, even like other games I wouldn't consider myself platformers I was really into was like I was really into Monkey Ball as a kid. I was really into Kirby Air Ride. Those games are definitely very different. So I was never into platformers or indie games really at all. But this game looked cool. And I guess, okay, cutting back a little bit, the reason I noticed the game called Celeste was because I used to play another game, and my favorite character in that game was named Celeste. And so just the name just kind of, the name
What game? What game?
It was Vainglory, it was called,
Oh, okay.
which is a mobile MOBA.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's
Ouch.
Definitely an ouch. No, it was not bad at the time, but now it's just another League clone. Anyway.
I was a fan of the story until just now.
Anyway,
Go on, sorry for
Anyway,
interrupting.
going back, of course. So I sold this for $380 on Steam, and I just bought a shit ton of games that I never would have thought I'd be
That's
able to play.
awesome.
I bought Celeste. I bought what's that game called? I bought Hat. I bought I think I bought Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga, which was a great purchase. I bought a bunch of other games as well. I'm trying to remember them. There was a lot of them. A lot of just indie games. I haven't even played all of them actually. I bought Grease is another one. That's another really good one. And I just bought a ton of games that I just had on my wish list. I never thought I'd get the opportunity to play. And Celeste is one of them. And Celeste, I liked it. Cool music, cool mechanics, whatever. But I did not get into it. Like when I first played
What
it.
point in time did you buy it at? Where we are now?
If this was, I want to say November, December, 2018.
So you're telling me you weren't a Chai Kitty chat mod for an entire year before you played the game for the first time?
That's correct. But basically, on my casual playthrough, I really didn't get into the game. It was fun, and I was enjoying it, but like I didn't really like it. It wasn't super grabbing to me. I actually like ended up playing the game like one chapter at a time over the course of a few months. I probably finished in February. I want to say it was like later February. And then I found the B-sides, and that's when I got really, really hooked. Just how ridiculously challenging and like satisfying they were to complete. That's what really got me into the game. That's when I started playing multiple levels per day. That's when I started, upping the play time. And eventually, when I was able to like complete all the B and C sides, I don't know what exactly brought me to this. I hadn't seen a single speedrun of the game at all, but I went on Twitch to see what other people were thinking of Celeste. And that day, there were 3 people streaming Celeste speedruns. There was TGH, there was Chai Kitty, and a guy named Death Unites Us, who actually came back to the game recently.
I actually
anyway.
remember that guy, yeah.
So I clicked on Death Unites Us because I believe he was the top streamer at the time.
What?
Yeah, he's like partnered or something from playing other games.
Yeah, but
he's-
none of Celeste TGH is streaming. Hello, buddy.
Anyway, I talked to him and I was just kind of like asking him like, oh wow, this is crazy. Speedrunning this game looks amazing. And he was just like, no, it's really not that bad. Like it's got a really low barrier of entry. And then I think he stopped streaming for the night. And I was like, okay, that was neat. I'll check out somebody else. So I clicked in TGH's chat. And it was a bit overwhelming because there were just a lot of people chatting. And so I decided probably I'll try out Chai Kitty, who definitely had a lot smaller of a view count at the time. And that was the point at which I decided like I really wanted to speedrun the game, just because Chai was so like enthusiastic about like his willingness to like, I don't know, help me out with the experience. I don't know, it was just a really cool experience I had the first time watching Celeste.
Try doing God's work.
Yeah, and from then I started my journey of doing ILs for 5 months before doing a run.
That's interesting though. Most people I would hear that like really got into Celeste are talking about the story, but for you it was just the gameplay itself.
Yeah, the
Difficulty
story
attached
was
to it.
good. I enjoyed the story. It's not like I didn't enjoy the story, but
I mean, you're both pro. I like the platforming and the challenge much. Like that was the main hook for me as well. But
yeah.
it's just interesting to hear.
Yeah, I mean the story's great for sure, but it is not super deep. You have to read a lot into it to get a lot out of it, I think, which is how it's intended. It's definitely a story that is more. It has less on the surface than a lot of other stories, which is not a bad thing. It does a very good job of it, but it's it didn't. It definitely wasn't the hook for me.
But I can accept. I can agree with the Dota addiction. It's,
That's the takeaway.
I still have 7K hours in that game, so yeah.
Honestly, out of all the TIs I went to, that was the one to go to.
Wow, yeah, it's crazy.
Wait, were you there during the finals?
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh my god. I'm
Dude,
so
I,
jealous.
like literally after game 4, dude, that was indescribable. Everyone in the arena was just
Yeah, I can imagine.
insane. Like, oh man,
I was,
I'm not gonna go too much into that whole experience. It's a story.
No,
for
this is a
another
Dota podcast.
No,
No, let's
yeah,
talk about
go for it.
Dota.
we're talking TI.
time. But
Yeah, we were 4th yesterday, and we played a nutty game actually. Over here in the
Oh,
corner,
yeah?
fuckers. Yeah, hella W. Blue carried us.
I was gonna say, I'm kind of sad.
You go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sad because I've never been to like a proper esports event, and even though like
oh, so cool.
yeah, I'm sure it's a great experience. Because there was a Counter-Strike major that was like literally in state for me. It would have been like
Oh,
less than an hour
there was
drive.
There was a Dota major in Boston too.
Yeah,
and
there
I
was.
just missed it. I wasn't into the game back then.
I mean, I'm not into Dota, but it was kind of sad because there was a Counter-Strike major in Boston, and it was at the time because I've obviously like I feel like for most as a speedrunner for most like like popular esportsy games, I just kind of get into like habits where like there'll be like maybe like 1 month out of every 3 months I'll just kind of get addicted to a game. Like literally last month I know me and Oddbud were playing a good amount of League of Legends. I know you're still playing Dota, but that just happens where like and sure, like we're all kind of okay at those games and we're all like big fans. I know we have a Discord channel here on the
Epeen
Discord.
Sports.
Yeah, Epeen Sports. So we talk about that stuff there. It's always really interesting. But yeah, that's actually like
That was the first chat I ever muted in this Discord.
I think the first chat
Wow.
I muted was like the bot channel.
Oh no, but then
No,
how
I
you get
think
all
I
the
think I muted the
daughters?
esports channel before that. Before the voice text channel.
That's
We should play more
amazing.
League.
I think this October I went to Hamburg for Dota tournament. That was really cool. I've been like to 5 or 6 in total, but never to TI. That's like probably number 1 on my where do I want to go wish list. Is
Hey
go
man,
to
you
TI
have
this summer.
opportunity this summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I'll
I
probably be
mentioned
there.
I mentioned the 7K hours. So before this entire speedrunning thing, I was kind of a Nintendo dude who also plays competitive video games, and that's about it. Like I missed so many great like PlayStation or Xbox games and all that. And I was just a Mario Zelda dude.
Oh man.
Played a lot of Dota, and
Dude,
then
I've always been
later on.
I've always been that.
So,
I've been playing Call of
yeah.
Duty. I've been playing Call of Duty for my entire life before like Dota. Like before MOBAs, I was just into Call of Duty, and then before that, it was GameCube. So I went straight from like the childhood games right to freaking like Call of Duty multiplayer for a bunch
Oh,
of
wow.
years.
Like I went from having handhelds only to, what was it, RuneScape.
Oh, RuneScape! I played that game, but I was way too young to know at all what I was doing. So what I would do is I didn't know how to complete quests to get money or whatever, like farm resources and sell them. So what I would do is I would go to the like Grand Exchange and just beg people for money.
I,
Shouldn't have been my
okay,
character.
I know we're getting a little sidetracked, but speaking of the Grand Exchange, I remember a time when that Grand Exchange did not exist, and people
Really?
were just shouting their prices in local inns and banks, and you would get scammed every day, like literally every day.
Oh, that was me. I was this guy. I was the guy scamming me.
Like, oh yeah, you give me your item, I'll make it a gold trim.
That's
I'm sure, just give me. All right, thank you. Hey, bye. And then you just leave.
Oh man.
Young me got scammed a few times.
Just for the record, so we're all comfortable, it's very much fine to get off topic as long as we give sufficient background for whatever we're talking about.
Right.
So, it's actually really funny.
Yeah.
I never played RuneScape when I was younger, and I think this kind of goes with like my taste of video games, but I love those games that were catered more to like kids and toddlers. I know Lori can back me up when I say that I've spent a lot
I
of
know
time
what we're
playing
talking
Toontown. I spent a
Yeah.
lot of time playing Toontown and Wizard 101. Those games are hot.
Oh, Wizard 101
I-
was sick. I
I
love
think
Wizard
this
101.
reflects in some of the games I even still play today. But like back when I was a kid, and again, still now, I am a big fan of like vibrant colors and shit. I'm a child. I like flashy colors. I like cute shit.
Nice.
Which is why Kirby is like my favorite series.
Yeah.
But Toontown was just the shit for me because it's like it was simple, which is good because I'm stupid. But it was also like a place that was great when like I didn't want to do anything else. So had a lot of fun there.
I put like 150 hours into Toontown Rewritten. I actually never played the original.
Oh wow.
But like whenever TTR came out, like I had friends that were talking about it, so I figured like I would try it. It ended up being really fun. I played it like pretty much as soon as it came out, and I haven't really touched it since then. But I've considered it.
Mhm.
Yeah, for those who are unaware, like Toontown is more of just it's a extremely kid-friendly, basic like MMO game with like turn-based combat, and it's a comfy game, I can say.
It's comfy.
The thing is, it's kind of weird though,
Never.
because I feel like my taste for MMOs have been like I've tried playing RuneScape, I've tried playing Path of Exile, and I just can't. Like I appreciate the simplicity in those games. I know, like
your brain's just too
I
advanced.
can't even think of MMOs that I've played. It'd be funny if Toontown was actually the only one, because I honestly can't. Nothing else comes to mind.
Long games in general, like what you were saying with Toontown, is I'll sometimes like play them for a long time and then just not play them for a while and then come back to them in like really long sessions. Like a game I played last year, I'm going on another tangent, was Persona 3. And like there were times where I would play that every day for a couple hours and then I didn't touch it for a week. And then like over the weekend I would literally play 12 hours one day and like over 6 hours the next.
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely like a nostalgia thing. Like once the nostalgia runs out, you just can't, and then it just replenishes after a certain while. I know
I have that right now with Witcher.
I know a
Witcher
good
3.
game I've played, Okami, if anyone here has played that.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I played
Okami's
Okami,
good.
and when I originally played it, I played it on the Wii. And I actually enjoyed the game so much. And I think, like, literally a couple of years later, I replayed it, and every so often, I'm like, I love that game. I want to replay it. And I sit down for, like, 2 hours, and I get through the first part, and I just quit. And I always can't. And I have it, like, every year or something. I, like, try to play the game again, and I'm on the first area, and I just quit after a while. But I do need to play the remake.
Yes, please get to that game.
I don't know if it's something that y'all feel like talking about, but in my case, it's interesting because I feel like it might be an interesting topic. But like your backgrounds of like you before you got into speedrunning, because like personally, I'm like very happy with like how speedrunning changed my identity compared to how I was before.
I
Because
as well.
because before I got into speedrunning, I played competitive Melee for 2 years, and I could say that I was like I liked the community that I'm in now much more. I was so unfunny back then. It's actually terrible. I have some pretty garbage tweets that people still like to freaking throw around.
This is a hashtag AGDQ 2020 runner.
I have this one god awful tweet from 2016 that YP keeps retweeting like every week.
Oh goodness. I
Probably all
am
the
young.
French shit when you were young, right?
Yeah,
I was never young.
that too.
Can't relate.
What do you mean, Phil?
Don't worry about it.
Okay, but
Alright.
I'm young still, so like I don't know. My identity in terms of what I do in gaming, I don't think is done or anywhere close to done. But speedrunning was actually a pretty early thing to me because I was always, as a kid, shy to use my parents' money. So I would be like, I have this game, I'm going to get the most out of it, you know?
Yep.
And what I ended up doing was I would watch a lot of Let's Plays in order to experience games that I hadn't, didn't have the ability to get, either because I didn't want to buy it or didn't have the console. And sometimes Let's Players would get together and do like race type things. And I tended to play along with some of those a lot. And one of them was for the very first Legend of Zelda. That was one I went through a lot of the time. And that's how I got into speedrunning, because that eventually got like GDQ VODs into my recommended. And
That's pretty interesting.
yeah.
Mm.
I think the very first GDQ VOD, like actual speedrun I watched was like AGDQ 2012. They did a Zelda 1 race. And that blew me away, because like with the people I constantly watched over and over, it was like an hour and a half, a little bit over sometimes for me to beat the game. And that run is like 30-something minutes
Yeah.
for them 8 years ago.
Something I kind of wanted to talk about, going back to casual playthroughs of the game, was Sushi mentioned this earlier. It took you 5 hours to beat this game?
Yes.
5 hours?
What?
Yes.
Okay, so
What?
I reached the summit in like 13 hours and some change, and I don't know, like that felt pretty good to me at the time. It's just crazy. I don't know. Like
Wait,
I see some people talking about how they beat the game casually in under 5 hours, and I was just kind of like, what? Wow.
To be
Oh,
fair,
wow.
when I played the game, it was a single sitting, so I was like totally mentally tacked in the whole time. I was completely
Okay, that's-
captivated, and I
Mhm.
after chapter 3, I did not care about collectibles because I was starting to realize
that
with
part of
the
it.
exception of like the cassettes, which I could only find the cassette in chapter 2 anyways, I was like, what do I get for these berries? Like nothing has happened yet with the berries, so
Impress
I'm
your
like I
friends.
can always get them later, so yeah.
You know, I always say I'm gonna like leave collectibles and go back to get them. I think this is one of the only games where I've actually gone back to get the collectibles.
It's actually really funny. When I had like 1,000 hours in this game, and I think I did a stream, I did like a quote unquote 12-hour challenge for Celeste Arb, which is really just me sitting down for like 4 hours and actually learning where the berries are. So I did a playthrough, which is just me watching Babayas run like checkpoint by checkpoint, and then just trying to do stuff, and then very quickly finding a compromise because the strats he did was too hard. And I remember it was on a new file, and when I got into Cord and when I collected the last berry, I got a Steam achievement for collecting all the berries. It was my first. It was my first. I had like 1,000 hours in the game, and it was my first time collecting all of them.
Oh my god.
What a curse.
That's amazing.
Huh.
When I did recently, I did an 11-hour stream where basically the entirety of the stream I did one run of 110% of a Hat in Time. And like
Mhm.
the thing that, because the record for that category is like a little under 5 hours, and that's an in-game time. My in-game time was like 9:22. So yeah, the reason that it took so long is because I was going into like this really difficult New Game Plus mode, like basically blind. And like at the end of the like 10.5 hour run, I like got the achievement for like clearing that mode fully, like for the first time at the very end. That was like the last achievement that I had to get in the game. I never bothered doing
Wow.
it.
Damn.
Damn.
Yeah, I've
cool.
also felt that.
I can discuss it about how that one time when we were playing bingo and Noah was
Oh
like
my
not
God.
having
I was
variants
thinking
unlocked
that.
because of C-sides. Everybody was making fun of them, of him rather. But now like all of you guys also like didn't actually finish the game, or like all of the bits until
I did. I was
speedrunning.
100% before I started speedrunning.
I'm proud of you for doing that, Phil.
To be
No,
fair,
I thought you were gonna talk about whenever you were trying to run you were adminning a bingo match. You were streaming. It was like Time Sync versus someone else, and like he was trying to start but he didn't have variant mode.
Yeah,
on his
exactly that
menus.
time. That's exactly what I mean.
Oh, he didn't have variants unlocked.
Yeah, he didn't have
yeah.
8 C-beat. He didn't have 8 C-beat, we found out
Yeah,
eventually.
You were confused because he was like, dude, where is variants? Why is it not
And-
showing up? And
And
people like
everybody made fun of him. And now you guys out here saying like you got a Steam achievement after learning ARP. Like, hello?
Okay, like
Yeah.
to be fair, the Steam achievement after
That's
ARB
fine.
and not completing 8C is very peppo. It's not something to be proud of.
Okay.
But actually 100% in the game, there's, to be fair, like, I remember in my casual playthrough, I found the 6A heart room, like, by myself, like, without any guides, and I looked and it's like, what the fuck do you do? Like, there's so much stuff in this
Oh,
game.
dude, I feel you.
It's
I
so
never
hard.
figured out 6A on my own.
No, it's...
A lot of berries are very convoluted.
Unless you're,
Yeah.
like, such a dedicated completionist, you
I know a
don't
couple who
100% this game without other sources. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't like consulting other sources unless I really, really like the game. So obviously I grew my love for the game by speedrunning it for 1,000 hours, and then I looked at the resources. But no.
I think
like
I
what
think
you
it's
can call
possible
the-
without hearts because like heart puzzles are really
Yeah.
difficult
Yeah.
to figure out on your own.
I know somebody who
super dumb.
recently went through the whole entire game completely blind and was able to get everything themselves.
Like a 4A
You could
heart.
probably get away with berries.
It took him a long time. There was a couple berries in particular. One of the ones that was the last one I think it was the last one he found. This guy is Complex Plane, who's one of the best Super Monkey Ball 2 speedrunners, by the way. He's really into Celeste right now. I think he's probably into running it. But he basically, it's the berry in the room in start, like kind of to the right of the central chamber, where you have to like dash down through a dream block to a little hole in the ground to
In
do a
2A?
transition. Yeah, in 2A.
Oh, yeah.
And that was like of all the berries in the game, he was able to find all of the hidden ones in Summit and everything, and that was the last one he found.
Oh my
I don't
God.
know.
Wait, which was the last berry?
The one in 2A, kind of like, so to the right of the giant central chamber, there's a one that you have to dash like down through a dream block into like a little hole in the ground.
Oh yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
Everyone finishes their one-up attempts at that berry.
hmm
Exactly. That's the one.
Yeah, he just that was the very, very last one he was able to find. That's just crazy.
Also,
Some of the
in
berries
my-
are so hard.
In my defense about the getting achievements and speedruns thing, the achievement that I'm talking about on Steam, I just checked it because I wasn't sure because it's the lowest completion, one of the lowest completion.
Is it
No,
one
it's
of-
the lowest for the game, but it's like 0.8% players that have completed. I guarantee you, like 90% of those people used the freaking cheat mode in Death Wish to do it. Like, there's such an easy way
Oh.
to
You're
just
talking
like
about
cheese that. Yeah, Death
hack.
Wish. There's like, if you die on a level like 3 or 4 times in a row, which a lot of them casually are going to be taking you like dozens of attempts for some of them, especially if you're trying to like 100% it and get all the bonuses. If you die like 3 or 4 times, past that point, it'll start like telling you every time you die if you want to like turn on the assist mode, basically. Like, it's just like Celeste assist mode, but just like flashes it in your face literally every time you die.
Isn't
So,
that
like-
what some Mario games do now as well?
I think so. I don't remember how
It's
exactly
like-
it works though.
It's like, hey, you died 5 times. You wanna let Mr. AI Luigi beat the level for you?
But yeah, like that achievement, doing it legitimately without that, very few people have done. Like there's a cool thing is that there's like a trophy like in the game. It's hidden like under the staircase. You have to like use camera mode to see it. But there's like a little trophy in a trophy box that says DW King, which is Death Wish King, and it has Doka's name on it. Because Doka, which is like the world record holder for that game, was the first person to complete that mode. And it was like 4 days after it came out.
Oh wow.
It took a really long time, and he was like the first person to do it, and he the next person to do it was like 2 weeks later or something like that. It's stupid.
Jeez.
Wow.
Actually, just booted my Switch because that's where I played Celeste on the first time, and actually my old save file is still here, so
Oh wow.
I have some details on that. Because I mentioned that I like started doing speedrun stuff around Reflection, and I think right after Summit, like 7A. And because I tend to play a lot of RPGs, and I'm kind of a completionist type, even if it requires the internet. So I eventually collected everything, except for 8C, because I sucked at 8C on the Switch. I was just so bad. I actually, on this file, I still don't have the 8C heart.
Oh wow.
So that's the thing. But I think around that point, I started looking more into speed tech, and I actually wanted to switch to D-pad because I've been playing on Pro Controller for my entire playthrough. So I think that was kind of the point where I switched over. But I actually have an old run here. That's a nice 53. That was my first submitted PB, I think. Yeah, that was my first submitted PB to which was like in March on the Switch with analog, and I hate it. I'm so bad at analog, actually.
Speaking of analog, Sushi, I also played casually on a wireless Xbox 360 controller with an analog stick.
Oh, dude, okay. You want to know how I played Celeste casually? And not only that, how I played Celeste for like the first week that I speedran it. I feel like it might have been longer. I played on a GameCube controller.
Epic.
That's actually not bad.
Okay, and like
GameCube controllers have some weird benefits to them.
They have the notch.
I thought that it would be a solid choice going into it because like just because the way the cardinal directions that you have for dashing, I figured it would work out well with notches rather than a 3D game, which is what I'd been used to speedrunning. But it's so bad. The notches do not work out well with the game at all. Like if the angle that you need on analog for it to consider it downright is like not lined up with where the downright GameCube like notch is. It just doesn't work. It's really dumb. And like in addition to that, you literally have to play analog if you're going to play on GameCube because the D-pad it has the most pathetic D-pad of any controller ever. It might actually be the worst.
It probably is.
I mean, none of the GameCube games are designed with it in mind, so I think it's fair.
Yeah,
for sure.
There's just for looks. Few uses for D-pad.
Why doesn't it exist? Like, what games use the D-pad?
I mean, it's used for the controls, right? Like I know in Zelda games, like certain D-pad things, like bring up the map or like a little mini map in the bottom corner.
Yeah, no, I can
like that's under control.
I can
you have
see
to
this
taunt in melee.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That's the most important one.
I know Petras plays with GameCube controller, right?
Yes, Peter does play with GameCube controller, and he does it quite well. I think that part of the reason that there's a couple benefits. His notches, he's got a relatively new and well-made. GameCube controller. He bought one of the Smash Ultimate ones. So the notches are tighter. You know, it's a more well-made controller, which may help it. But there's some weird benefits. Namely, like. He configured his controller.
Are you getting your GameCube controllers out?
I'm getting my GameCube controller.
No, I'm getting one right now. Give me a sec.
I have mine right here. Anyway, like in Joy-Key, so that the directions on the analog stick, like if he holds it to the top right and like upright notch, that is holding like, you know, 2 arrow keys down in Joy-Key because he configured the entire controller in Joy-Key. So he has this analog stick that gives digital inputs, which allows him to feather boost with that. But,
that's interesting.
But you know, he would just be feather boosting with digital inputs, right? Except for the fact that he was able to bind his C stick in Steam, so he can feather boost in any direction with his primary stick and switch to his C stick, which controls with a different hand.
Oh my god!
To do the feather boosting.
That's legendary.
Somebody has to be honest about this.
Dang.
It's really crazy. I don't know.
I was gonna say,
Spios is nutting in the chat right now.
The only other person I know who ran on GameCube controller, which is like a very small thing, and I don't even know if you guys will remember this name, but Deltos was a person who they ran Portal 2. They were a really good Portal 2 runner. They never talked to the community. One day, like literally a millennia ago, they got like a 547 Reflection A, which was like world record at the time. Like just out of nowhere, and they played on GameCube controller, and I was like talking to them a bit about it because this is like when I was still learning the game, and and I'm pretty sure like I think it was Babai who like still thinks he's cheating to this day, and like he's a really sus guy. To be fair, he's like after I talked, the only time I actually talked to him, despite like playing Portal and Celeste, was after he got that 6A world record because it just came out of nowhere. But yeah, he played on GameCube controller, I remember. So.
Another thing about what made my GameCube controller experience really bad is that because I came into this game, like I said, to have like a side game to play when I didn't feel like playing Hat. And in Hat, that's got like, you know, like 3D Mario, like platformer controls where you've got like dive boosting and stuff. And that is by default put on R. And so whenever I went into Celeste, I rebound dash to be on R because I thought it was way better than having jump and dash with the same finger. I just thought having them both on face buttons next to each other was gross. There are a decent amount of people that use like dash that way. It's not just me, but like
I think
I do.
Odd
Odd-
does, right?
yeah, Odd
Yeah.
does. Well, he uses bumper. I use trigger. Which
Yeah,
bumper
you're
is
definitely
honestly-
a weirdo for using trigger.
Yeah, bumper's probably better if I'm being honest, but I've been like that for too long. And also, like I said, it's just like how I'm used to it in a different game. But like, I started that with the GameCube controller. Like, I did that from the beginning. And that actually destroyed my hands because the GameCube triggers are like so strong. You need like
Yeah.
a lot of force to put them down compared to other things.
Yeah,
Like,
you have to take the springs
And
out
you
if
need to
want to not
push
kill
them
your
all the way
hands.
down as well.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it killed my hands. Like, actually, they were so sore.
It
was
hurts to
that's
play
the only reason I
Celeste casual.
swapped off. It was like even playing Melee did not hurt my hands the way that playing Celeste
Yeah.
on GameCube controller did.
I feel
It was so bad, which it really it's kind of weird. Maybe I'm just like super used to it. 'cause
I just
played it
want to
for so long.
say, as someone who like doesn't use controllers a lot, it's crazy how like I feel like one day people are like GameCube controller, one of the best controllers ever made, and the next day people are like, "Fuck the GameCube controller, piece of
No,
shit."
it's so hit or miss. It's either the worst or the best controller of all time. And like
Yep.
when I say it's either the best controller of all time, that's like 2 games. No, okay, there are a couple games,
Every
and
Smash
like
game.
It works
Take-
really well
take-
with
take-
Super Monkey Ball.
take Peter for example, because like the reason he's like got like GameCube controller set up is because like he speedruns Monkey Ball, and a game like that, the way that you speedrun Monkey Ball literally would not be possible if it weren't for the GameCube controller. Like that's the only
Yep.
reason that stuff that they do in that game works, because you just like pause buffer onto certain frames and then buffer like exact angles so you can get the exact angle every time because of notches. And I
Yeah.
mean, there's Zelda games that are that way. GameCube controller is like super important for like OOT because you have like very specific setups and stuff like that. And then you have Melee, and I think like the notched analog is like super gross for 3D games in general. There were actually a decent amount of people that used it in Hat. And you know,
Really?
you've also got games like Sunshine, which I actually don't think that like GameCube controller in particular fares super well for Sunshine, but it doesn't have like some of the benefits of other games that I described. I think notched analog is like really weird for 3D platformers. It just feels gross to me.
Yeah, I could not imagine 3D platform. And I have imagined it. I mean, I played Sonic Adventure 2 as a kid, but it's just it doesn't work very well. Like it really doesn't.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just
no,
not intuitive.
SA2 is another game. I played Sonic Adventure 2 on DS4 controller. That's another one where like
Really?
not
Wow.
feels weird to me. But that's another game where like there are a bunch of precise tricks where you need really tight angles, and like oftentimes it doesn't actually benefit in the same way because oftentimes the very precise angle that you need is not on a notch, so
Oh,
it's
no.
like kind of hard. It's hard, but like you know like the world record holder for that game plays on Game Controller. Like it people are pretty good at it. I don't know how.
The weird thing about that, I just remember like just so many specific memories of that game, specifically from flying around as Knuckles or one of the other treasure hunters, where I'm just trying to turn, and just because of the notches, it's just the most awkward thing like in the world.
Mhm.
Like where you're just trying to fly around and turn like a specific angle, and you just kind of snap to these weird angles. Just not. It definitely felt very awkward, despite the fact that that was a game with like, I don't want to say smooth gameplay because it kind of wasn't, but it also kind of was.
Yeah, GameCube
Okay.
controller is either really good or really bad, and I enjoy using DS4 controller pretty well for every game that I've ever played. So I just use that. I've never had a game that like there was some bad thing about it that made DS4 bad.
I play Pokemon with a DS4 controller. It's really nice.
Also, given the fact that it's really easy to rebind like everything on that controller, I think on DS4 Windows, which is like a remapping program for that controller, I have a bunch of different like button profiles of remappings for like every single game that I speedrun basically, and they're all just
Yeah,
like
same,
titled
actually.
by the game. I think Celeste is probably my most jank one because all four of my bumpers are rebound to something. Like Celeste in particular is a really heavy like button remapping game. Every single
yeah.
button on my controller is taken up by a unique action. Like if there was some mechanic or new thing that were found that required me to need like another jump button, like a third one or like some other thing, like how demo dashing needs like a keyboard button, I would literally not have room for it. Like every single button on my controller is taken up entirely. I would have to use like the freaking touchpad, and I'm not about to do that.
So what are your
Push down on stick?
What are your face buttons bound to? Because I think I have one
I-
button that I'm not using right now, and I use everything else.
Okay, yeah. So X is jump. Circle is talk, which I guess you can afford to put other stuff on top of talk as well.
I
There's
do.
some interactions that combine with it, but I don't want to mess with that. And then triangle is pause,
Oh, we have that on pause.
and square is down plus confirm. So my skip cutscene is I slide my thumb across triangle and square,
Oh, that's nice.
and then on my bumpers, yeah, I have a second jump button, dash, grab, and demo dash.
Actually,
Still
I think
confused how
about it.
people
I
run
also have
buttons. Yeah, so.
L2 leftover. But
I have some weird buttons. I'm definitely very out of buttons. Similar to Brady, I've rebound, pause, and down plus confirm as my two. Okay, now this is gonna be a learning moment for me, and I think I know the answer. But
Go.
are the top ones the bumpers and the bottom ones the triggers?
Yeah,
On.
L1 and R1 are bumpers.
Okay, so yeah, my bumpers are bound to pause and down confirm whatever, so I just kind of press those at the same time.
Oh, I see.
But my R1 is my demo dash button as well. And that's my demo
Oh, yeah,
down
yeah.
down plus dash bind. And then on R2, my right bumper, I have a second demo button. This one without a dash bound to it, essentially. So I have all those rebound. Then I just have grab. But on my face buttons, where my talk is, I know you talked about like binding over talk. I have talk plus up plus right plus confirm. And
Wait, what? What is that for?
so it's a bunch of different things. So talking obviously. And then you have the up plus confirm aspect of it, which can be used for return to map. And then the right bind is for feather boosting. And this
Oh,
is
I see.
this is the Alice thing. So I can hold that button as I get into a feather, and it feather boosts me upright, and then I can switch to analog.
Science has got too far, dude.
And then if you hold demo button and press that button, it feather boosts you down right. And then you switch to analog after.
Oh my god.
As the keyboard representative of this call, I just want to say
I
one
play
time
keyboard.
I bound every single key that was unbound on my keyboard to jump,
You
and then I
have
tried to
dude.
water boost by slamming my my palm on my keyboard. It didn't work, and then one run I was in Summit in 1500 meter, and I fat fingered some jump button. I still don't know which one, so I actually unbound them all. But yeah.
Hearing that, it feels like I have the least convoluted
I actually
setup.
made a pretty good use of that kind of interaction recently. This isn't God. I'm really proud of one of my proudest speedrunning like skills is my ability to come up with really stupid rebinds that make hard things easier than they should be. And
That's awesome.
recently in Psychonauts, which is like the most recent game that I went out of my way to grind, I stopped with like a decent time. I'll probably go back to it soon. But like at the thing that makes it really dumb is that in any percent at the very end of the run, there's a frame perfect trick. Like literally, you just have to use this item that takes you out of the level. And on the very last frame of that animation, before you load out of the level, you have to pause and then save load, and it warps you into somewhere else.
Mhm.
And so you can either there are two ways to do it. You can either just like be confident and just like pause on the frame, or because the way pausing works in that game, you can't pause multiple times on the same frame. So you can frame advance with pause buffers, but you just have to like if you pause like 1 or 2 frames early, you can't really tell like how many frames you have left because at that point it's just like a black screen, so there's no like visuals to see if you're on the right frame or not. So like if you just pause on like a pitch black screen, I basically just like save and then I unpause. And then I have 6 keys on my keyboard. It's S, D, F, J, K, L. So I can just like roll my fingers across it. They're all rebound to escape. Enjoy the key. And so I just like if I pause 1 or 2 frames early, I just like whenever I do that trick, I just unpause and then just like all at once. And it just like spams a bunch of escape inputs and makes it really likely that I get like a good frame advance. And I got like super consistent at that way. Like in my PB, that like thing saved my run. If it weren't for me going out of my way to set that up, then I would have missed the trick. But I got it like first
Amazing.
or second try in my PB.
That is
pretty
amazing.
dumb.
Actual jank.
Yeah.
My controls are usually pretty tame in games.
Yeah, this
I like-
feel like I'm fairly default. I think.
There's another like huge. That's not even the biggest brain rebind thing that I've done. It was actually a way that I did a trick in SA2. I have to go grab my controller and plug it in so I can get to the profile and see how it works. Because it's actually so dumb. I don't remember what it is.
Oh my god. There is one game that I always make fun of, and that's Momodora. Because so many people have these weird ass controls. Carl posted his fucking controls recently, and I wanted to die. on seeing them.
Dude, fuck Momodora controls. I'm still mad that you can't get a rotation button there. That's the worst part about that game.
Okay, I found the image of Coral's controls. You guys might not understand this in chat because I don't know if you know about this game, but this image makes me very upset.
Up, down, left, right. Looks good to me so far.
Okay.
Yeah, it means nothing to me.
So what's the problem with this?
The problem is you see jump and roll. A lot of the time in the run, you want to press that on the same frame. So, like, is he moving the finger that's on Z upwards and then pressing jump with, like, the bottom part of his finger? What?
Looks to me like a controller
sure.
thing. Could be in order.
Yeah, no, this looks annoying. I can get behind it.
It's like
How do you press C and A? What the heck?
Yeah.
I've had where you can like put.
Actually,
one
wait,
finger
yeah, I didn't think it was
on-
that weird. And then I put my fingers on the keyboard, and then I was like, wait.
Yeah, because there's a very common movement trick.
You can do pinky like
That's-
ring finger on AZ.
Yeah, but that's just uncomfortable.
Oh.
Especially because here's the thing. Not only that, but you also want to be rolling as much as possible in the game, really. So like.
Yeah, no, this is disgusting.
Coral,
I don't
how
know.
do you roll?
Yeah, I was actually gonna bring that up because weird finger position. Sometimes, even if you use default controls in Dota, you need like to have a blink dagger, or for League players, that's
Dude,
probably
we
I
could
think a
talk for
flash.
hours
Yeah,
about-
pretty much the same. You need to have
talk for
certain
hours.
abilities like ready to go at any moment in case like an opponent jumps on you. So I'm used to the weird finger positions, so it's easier for me to.
Like literally, like
Position my
Dota
hand.
rebinds are like so deep. It's crazy. Like everyone has their own like specific like 60 set of specific like 60 keys they use or whatever.
Yeah, it's like from the tilde all the way to H is rebound. Like everything does something.
you literally
On
cannot
the left
play
side
on
of the
another person's
control.
control scheme. Like you can't do
Yeah,
that. It doesn't work.
Impossible.
It's crazy.
That like thing is relevant in like hat as well, where like you literally can't play on someone else's control scheme because like not only are like a vast different amount of controllers used for hat, but also like hat like you get used to playing based off of like your own like graphics and performance and like how your own game runs on your computer. Basically, you just get used to certain things that way. There are some bad things that come from it, but like
Speaking
generally
of
it's not too terrible. Like I spent a bunch of time practicing whenever like at GDQs, whenever you have a run, it's sometime prior they'll ask you to go up onto the stage whenever they're doing a run that isn't a PC run, so that you're not on screen and you can just sit down at the computer and install it.
Mhm.
And I spent like probably an hour up there practicing with Enhu just because like there's a big trick that's at the start of the run where like you have to clip through something by like right before you ledge grab it, you like change a graphic setting and lag the game. And like you have based off of how long you lag, your visual cue is going to be different, and so I just had to actually make sure that it would work.
Oh yeah.
It's weird. Another dumb rebind thing I did is that one time I executed that trick and without menuing to change a graphic setting. I have this DS4 button profile called Mash, and there's a button. there's a button rebind. It's a macro. So obviously, like you can't do this. It would be jank in the first place, but obviously can't do this. But like basically, it's either if I press like triangle or square. I can't remember which one it was, but it would just left click like 500 times rapidly, and it would just like left click on the game super hard, and it would lag it so that I could get the lag without doing the menuing. It was so dumb.
That's big brain, honestly.
That's really funny.
Because
And I
was
ahead.
about to like ask how the like performance was for Celeste's GDQ as well. Because I remember last year when I went to ESA Winter with I think Swesi, Psych, and Moose. and we did our race there, like a 100 relay race that we did. I really noticed that like every PC, you gotta get used to just how the game looks and feels. Because at ESA we had horrible frame tearing during Celeste, which
Yeah, with VSync off, it can be bad on certain PCs.
yeah, I thought the PC should be able to handle 60 FPS pixely game without VSync on, but apparently I was wrong. And I think after watching it back on the VOD, it was just sometimes we were moving through like let's say 1K dream block section. We're just dream hypering through, and just the top and the bottom half of the screen would be just the left and the right half of the room, with how horrible the screen tearing got.
That's crazy. I never really had to deal with screen tearing before. It sounds pretty terrible.
Yeah, and
it's
the
like,
same in the practice rooms too.
It's kind of bad on my PC, but it's like only barely noticeable. But like it wasn't a problem at all. Like on the GDQ PC, they were pretty good.
Yeah, because I don't want to flex, but my PC is pretty good, so I don't have that issue.
I was gonna say it might be a good time to switch topics. I know we have been talking for quite a while, which of course is a good thing. But I feel like we're gonna talk about I want to talk about the speedrun events that have been going on recently. There are a couple of things we can talk about. I mainly wanted to focus on ESA's Break the Record, which is going on literally as we speak right now, and the Barire speedrun show. It's French. I don't know how to pronounce it, so I apologize. Sure.
Yeah, barrier in French.
Oh, wow. The
that's
more you
cute.
know. I might have to learn French in the next couple of weeks, so OP. Anyways, I want to talk about Break the Record first. For those who are unaware, Break the Record, I think the whole thing is kind of ironic from the way we saw it, because obviously about 2 months ago, EasyScape announced a bounty sponsored by Ballistic Gaming with was it a $10,000 bounty for Super Mario 64, where the first person to get a 138 got $5,000, and the second, third, fourth got some money too. And then literally like 3 weeks later, ESA was like, we got a big announcement, guys, huge announcement. This is going to be the biggest thing we've ever done. And they announced Super Mario 64 Break the Record, sponsored by Elgato Gaming. They flew out the top 7, excluding one runner. I think Batora didn't get invited. But they flew the top 7 runners out to Sweden to all play Super Mario 64 in the same room. And basically the premise is they could grind as much as they want for the entire day. And I assume we can talk about our thoughts on this for general, but I just like to start by making the obvious bias kind of comparison to Twitch Rivals. I think me, Oddbod, and Flarebear, we've all participated in Celeste Twitch Rivals, which was about a year ago, 10 months ago, which was a very similar structure actually, except
way shorter time frame.
Way shorter time frame and online. It was a 4-hour event to get the best time in Celeste any percent. And yeah, I don't know if anyone wants to lead this conversation.
First thing I want to say about Break the Record is that it's kind of racist for them to not invite Batora, but
I mean,
you can go ahead, Flare.
I don't know anything about this event.
What I was gonna say about the difference with Twitch Rivals in particular, and this is like an old thing, so it's not as like on topic, but like Celeste is a game where like if I'm grinding out attempts in a session, if I'm to the point where I play for like an hour and a half of attempts and I'm mind blocked, then I have no chance. Like I realized a point, I think it was when I was going for sub 30, that like if I couldn't get a run out of resort in like 40 minutes of attempts, I would just know that the session would be unproductive and I would quit. And so like in this scenario like Twitch Rivals, that happened to me. But I don't have the choice to just sit down and come back later whenever I'm like more level headed. Because like I literally have to do that with Celeste. So like I just never got a run. My first run was ended up being my PB for the entire event. That's the reason that kind of thing screws me over. Whereas like in Break the Record, you have like multiple days and you can just like chill for like 2 hours and commentate if you don't want to do anything. So
yeah, I think that's also it's interesting because I feel like that would also be super taxing mentally. I mean, obviously, I feel like I don't know, like all of us stream to a certain extent, but but I can say for my streams, if I go over like 4 hours, I get a bit loopy. I get a bit tired.
Oh, dude,
you know,
for
like-
real, I actually have a lot to say about that as well. I think streaming is so mentally exhausting. Honestly, like, I mean, even above 3 hours, you start to feel like crazy. I start to feel like fatigue after 3 hours for sure.
It's like
But, like, yeah, as you said, like 4 hours is like the limit for like how much I can stay sane.
You know that
So-
feeling when you're sick and you try to look at a screen and like your eyes just kind of
Warp.
I don't have a
I
good way
think
to
I know
put
what you
it,
mean.
but your eyes just you
It
feel
just
really
feels
sick.
Like
You feel really sick, but you don't like feel it. It's more of you get it through your you're seeing. Like you're just like, oh, I don't want to look at a screen, dude.
When I did Hat in Time, my 100% run recently that took me 10.5 hours in real time, like when I finished that run and ended streaming, I just like immediately got in bed because I felt like really physically exhausted. And when I got down in bed, I was like so fatigued that it felt like I had been jogging all day, but I was just sitting in a chair. It was kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just keeping up that level of concentration, like for that amount of time, does ridiculous
Yeah.
things to you
Yeah,
for sure.
and keep in mind, like throughout that run, like the things that I'm gonna get stuck on that I've like never completed for even casually that I was doing blind, or like the hardest missions that took me like 30 minutes to an hour each. Those are all like the very end, like, and there's like a really funny clip from that stream too, where like literally the final stamp of the run, which is like the super hard boss rush level,
Oh, yep.
and a bonus objective for the level is that you have to complete it without ever dropping to 1 HP. So you basically have like you only have 3 HP instead of 4 if you're thinking about getting that objective. Like I like failed that objective where I dropped to 1 HP like multiple times at the very end of it, and like I was just like at that point didn't even care what my time was anymore, but I just like wanted to be done with it because it was so
yeah.
like all the time that you're losing and all the things that make the run really hard are past the point where you're already really fatigued. So it was just killing me.
Yeah, it sounds brutal, honestly.
But yeah, I would say it's interesting because when you talk about like getting good at speedruns, a lot of people mention mentality. You gotta have a good mental. You really gotta be able to push past mistakes. But I feel like with a competition like this, being physically able to sit in a chair for double-digit amount of hours for multiple days, like
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah, like sure, of course, I'm sure they don't all like make the most out of their time. I'm sure they take breaks when needed, but like if you want to maximize your competition, because of course there's money on the line, like what you are, yeah.
Pushing yourself
Oh,
for
but-
sure.
But it's like what Brady mentioned, right? Sometimes it's just one of those days where you can get a run going, and the best way to deal with that is just to literally either, play some other game or just go to bed.
Dude,
And
I can't tell you how many times. Like, I've gone
if you,
past
if
that
you have
point.
like a 4-hour time frame with Twitch Rivals, for example, then you're just screwed.
Yeah, I got completely owned by that in Twitch Rivals.
Yeah, I haven't been watching much of Break the Record, but one thing I've heard in praise of it is that it is very accurately showing what like grinding speedruns is. And I can kind of see that because I don't suffer from like the fatigue you guys were talking about that badly, like if at all. What I suffer from is a neat little thing called tilt. And that comes
Oh,
back
yeah.
to mentality. I get tilted at the slightest mistakes all the time. And so it's not a matter for me of like doing it until I'm too tired to do, but like doing it to the point where I'm just gonna get more upset if I keep going. So why should I keep going?
Yeah, that's
Interesting
another
to
thing
say
that can
that.
make a session unproductive. So
It's
it's
interesting
basically
to
the
say
same
that,
thing.
like I think that speedrunning has made me a much less tiltable individual than before when I just played Dota. Honestly,
I mean, that's a stark contrast going from Dota to.
I think the thing is about speedrunning is it's entirely individual. If you mess up, that is your fault. You can't blame anyone else for that. You have things that you can
That's a great
constantly,
fault.
But-
work on. Like I guess I don't know, you mess something up. It's very clear what you messed up, how you messed it up, and what you can do to fix it most of the time. And that's really helpful for, I guess, not getting really frustrated because you only have yourself to blame. I guess there's not really anyone else you can just put that on.
Okay,
I wanna
hear me out.
counter
You
that
are
point.
very true, and that is a good point about speedrunning. But also at the same time, my main speedrun category that I've played the most for over 2 years is a hat in time any %. And I can tell you from experience that there are a lot of situations where the only reason that a session was unproductive was because I lost good runs to things that were literally not my fault.
Okay, so just go running with RNG.
Yeah, so moral of the story here is just don't run hat in time any %.
I'm really
Yeah.
glad that I chose 2 games that have absolutely no RNG in the run, or at least everything is everything that you're required to do is at the very
Yeah.
least very controllable at the
Celeste
human.
has it easy, dude.
Yeah.
Celeste definitely has it
Celeste
easy.
spoils you in
Lucky
like
Ball
every
is,
regard.
Lucky Ball is like
Yeah,
definitely
Celeste
not
spoils you in a
quite
lot
as
of ways.
easy, but there's no RNG in it, and everything that is hard to control, you can manage to control it to an extent, I guess.
Well, it's okay. You mentioned like you only have yourself to blame every time, but
Right.
that's why like running Celeste was so tilting for me, especially when I was too focused on getting a specific time,
I see.
which is why I like took
Yeah,
the break
some
for 6
people get
months.
more disappointed because of that
Yes.
thing. that
Like
factor.
Dota is very nice and in that way because you can always blame your teammates. And it's not the right thing to do, but it's an easy escape to like mentally prepare for the next game, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I guess I can see that. It can
The
help you
same in
alleviate
Rocket
some of the
League.
pressure off of yourself.
Like if I miss the ball in Rocket League, I know I missed the ball and I'm just like super frustrated with myself because I should have hit that ball, you know. But in a game like Dota, it's so complex that you can always blame your teammates. And I think that
Yeah.
also goes back into Celeste, where, you know, if I miss Demo Dash for the 5th time, I can't blame anyone for that.
You can blame Matt
I
Thorson.
have to accept
Dude, Matt Thorson.
that I just messed up, and that can be really harsh to deal with. Especially if your mentality is in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want
There
to
was a point. Go ahead, Sushi.
add. I kind of did want to segue back onto the main topic. So if you do want to say something quickly, Brady, you should.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say because on the topic of ESA Break the Record, as Celeste speedrunners, we are very close knit to Global Speedrun Association, and Break the Record is very much, it's esports. It's speedrunning esports is what it's trying to be marketed as.
I know where you got with this. No, it's not gonna be the manifesto 2.0 Sushi. You're gonna make me do this.
I just want to hear Oddbot get mad, but
Yeah, all right then, dude.
what are our thoughts of this as a speedrunning format, as a way to show off speedrunning in comparison to like these marathons, or in comparison to GSA League, or in comparison to like grind attempts on stream? Where do we think this fits in? Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Is this a thing that will be
Even-
expanded on?
Even in the face of people that are trying to like grow competitive speedrunning and make it a more interesting thing, since it's kind of its own thing, I still am under the firm belief that like that sense of speedrunning will never like capture it the same way that marathons can. So like they're getting better and better. I honestly think that the format that's being used currently is better because like the reason that marathons I think are the best way of showing it is because the way it shows off speedrunning just shows how vast and like interesting everything can be. Whereas like, you know, competitive speedrunning pins it down to like specifically games that just work out really well with like movement to like grind. And the thing that this format does show well about it does capture well about speedrunning is, like you said, the process of actually getting a good PB in like a really hard category, which like you have to be thinking watching some of these because like you can see the results from all the top runners and they're like pretty split. Like it's not like it's an easy category, and it's also really long, so like getting a good time there is pretty difficult. And also like the competition is not all that close. There's some people that I feel are definitely like ahead of others in that event. So like, you know, looking at some of the other people playing, you just have to like think how hard it must be to keep going on like that stage when like, because they show like their splits and pace and everything, and like people will be like continuing no resets that are like already dead runs like an hour in, where their best possible time is like too high to get a good run anymore. There are some runners where like, you know, because they're trying to compete to break the record, which is like the 138. There's some people that like barely will have like 138 best possible time throughout the run. And you just have to like, you know, have the willpower to keep going when you're like doing that on that stage. It seems difficult to me. But I mean, I've kind of been in the same situation because, like I said, I was in Celeste Twitch Rivals where I was fighting to get 11th place instead of 12th place,
Let's
which
go.
I did. Because my piece sucked.
Let's go, Flare. Let's talk, champ.
Blair?
I mean,
Yeah. It's always
know.
hard to like show the full essence of speedrunning if you only have a set time frame for someone to quote unquote perform in. Because I feel like that's so different for many
Mhm.
people.
yeah, but I mean, I haven't watched much of like the ESA thing so far. I have to admit, like pretty much not at all. But I think I understand the format, and at least I feel like the format is certainly like better at actually capturing what speedrunning is about than, let's say, tournaments.
I definitely
One-for-one
think you
races.
need this much time
Yeah.
for this format to be like accurately good. Like you definitely need this much time, especially for a category that long. So it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the viewing experience is like though. Like, I don't know how enjoyable this actually is to watch because at that point it barely feels probably like a competition, right?
Apparently
I
the
would
production
assume.
has been good, and at that point, a lot of the watching isn't really about the competition, but it's just like fun to watch.
Yeah, exactly. But at that
Keep
point,
the
like,
runs going.
what exactly, like, what value does it hold opposed to just having a bunch of people stream on their own stream and having them watch that? If that makes sense.
I guess it's just the essence of like guaranteed content. Like there's just a couple days where you can watch people and like all
Yeah.
these runners has been like practicing specifically to try and get a good time at this event whenever people are watching. So it'll be way more likely that you'll actually get entertaining runs out of it in these few days of time.
I mean,
So-
I guess what I'm saying then, like, how much is it about the competition? Because you're implying it isn't about the competition at all, pretty much, when it comes to the viewing
I
experience, right?
think it's pretty small, yeah. Especially considering the fact that like the results are pretty split, and also the fact that like in general you're gonna have like 2 or 3 AFK people at a time, from what I've
Yeah.
seen on the stream.
But then, okay, so here's the thing. I think Speed Gaming has done like sort of these events, of course online, but they have done these before, where Speed Gaming organizes like a bunch of people to just like play the game for a couple hours, so a day,
Mhm.
and have them like all restream on one stream, and then they just grind out runs and have like central commentary. And like, I guess that's what I'm trying to get at is like, to what degree do you even need competition in mind? And in particular, like money to even make this sort of format work, right? Because when Speed Gaming did it, like I know they did it for Zelda 1, for instance. Like there was no money on the line, right? So the competitive aspect was like way smaller, and that whole idea was like barely present at all. It was more like about the sort of speedrun spirit of trying to improve the record. So I guess if there's anything like I have on the ESA thing, and I suppose to that extent also Twitch Rivals, is like, does there have to be the money there? Because I feel like all the pressure that you guys have been talking about, like how to perform, and people actually have to like sit down and force themselves to play and continue runs, etc. Like that all seems like external, right? They all do that because there's like that money on the line.
Honestly, I will say I don't think the money has to be there. For
Yeah.
this kind of thing to be good, I really don't think it does. Like,
It's just for viewership.
yeah.
honestly.
I mean, I guess you can give the argument that it gives the runners like an incentive to like go through hell like they are, but I was actually going to bring up. I do remember watching one of these before. Like it's one of the Speed Gaming. I think it was called like Chase for the Record or something. I remember I watched. It was like a 4-hour long. Maybe it was like 8 hours long. I can't remember how long it was, but it was Sonic Adventure 2 Battle Dark Story, and I remember in that event like there was a record that was actually beaten, which like I think it might have been long standing before that event, but like the record holder got like a 2-second PB, and then it was like one of the first runs of the event, and I remember it was pretty entertaining to watch because there was like 2 people in particular that were in that event that were both really close and were just like pumping out good runs at the same time. It can be interesting when you have like, honestly, the best part about this format is when you have 2 people that are both doing successful at the same time, because that kind of thing is really entertaining. I don't know if that's happened to break the record yet. I haven't watched enough to say if that's happened or not, where like you got like Chisum Punke or simply like you have like 2 of them like on good pace, like both at the same time. There have been instances where people were just like not even doing these events, where like people were just like grinding like really popular categories. I think there was a time with Hero Story where the top 2 runners were both like on world record pace and late game at the same time. Like they were just both streaming, and like in their runs, I think it's in the current record VOD actually. Like people in chat were telling him about like the other person's pace, like while he was in his run, because they were both aware that they were like racing for like first 21. So yeah, I don't know if that's happened in ESA break the record yet, but like if you have multiple people like on the good pace at the same time, it could be really interesting. I don't remember if that ever happened with Celeste, like Twitch Rivals. So I don't remember exactly how the
Uh.
results went down for that. But yeah, I will say one. It's like barely a complaint, but like it still makes the event good, but it's not like any worse. But like I will say one thing I think is silly is that like I feel like placing all that money in 120 star is a weird place. I guess it does pull viewership, but like it's the money is like how do I word this? It's like because the money isn't like for the viewership. Like people are still gonna watch because what they're in it for is just like watching these runs happen. They just want to see records broken, right?
Yeah.
So the
Exactly.
money is gonna be set in place to incentivize the runners to improve competition. If the money improves the competition, then it's gonna make it more interesting for the spectators. So that's how it helps. But that's why I feel like it's kind of a weird decision to put it all in 120 star, where like the competition is like more distributed across people, I guess. Like I don't know, it's kind of it's not like this is completely true, but I feel like watching this going into it, you feel like it's pretty likely that whoever like is going to be the person to break the 138, if anyone, is going to be like 2 maybe 3 people, right? You're going to have your eyes on a specific set of people like pretty much the whole time for that.
Like,
I mean,
the same with Twitch Rivals, right? We already, like, especially those as a group, knew pretty much had the finishing, like,
well,
top 3.
at the time it was a bit closer. I don't remember what record was back when we did Twitch Rivals. Actually, don't know.
It's like,
But I feel like it was probably like at least a couple more.
it's like 4 people, maybe 5. If they had, if someone really popped
Very
off.
high 27. It must have been like a low. I think the winning time of Twitch Rivals is like a 28 OX or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, and I mean, it's not like I would say that this would do better, but just an example that I think of in my mind whenever I think about like putting the money in place to break the record like this is just like an example of something like 70 star, where like I feel like if it were done for something like that, the competition is like way more closely split. The top times are like all shared within the same minute. Like they're all like in 47. There's a lot of people that are really close to each other. Whereas like in, like I said, in 120 star, it's more distributed. It goes down quicker. And so like you have like a wider variety of people that the money can incentivize to start grinding out and actually like come out of nowhere and beat it. Like it incentivizes, it would probably like help competition well. And also like another thing in addition to that is that like, I mean, this is kind of weird about the whole unverified world record thing, but like another thing that I think about is that like 70 star is also really close to breaking a really difficult minute barrier. That the only reason it hasn't happened is because people just aren't taking out the time to grind it anymore because it's so brutal, which is like 46, right? Because there are people that are close to that. And like the reason I say it's weird with 120 star is because of the already existing 138 that's unverified, which I really don't understand
what's the
the
deal with
details
that?
behind that. Like
Video
it's a
sucks or
separate
something.
variable. It's really weird.
I think there was a capture card bug, like somewhere completely random in the run. So it's like literally just 1 star of gameplay is completely missing.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
But they still keep it on the site as
But it's on the
unfair?
leaderboard.
Yeah, it's on the boards.
What? Why?
I don't know.
SM64.
Because it's Reki, I guess.
Yeah. There is a choked 46 to Bowser throws. That's why I say like the money would be good there because like we want to see 46, but no one's doing it right now. And then you put a prize on the line and you get a new barrier broken.
But at
Do
least
that
from what I
next.
can hear, it seems like this is doing better than 1v1 races, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because people have been vocal about 1v1 races, right? Odd.
Stop
Why you
bullying.
call me out, dude? What
Yeah.
the fuck?
GSA.
GSA.
So at least this is a very big step in the right direction.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I think it's doing better than I thought it would. I thought it was kind of funny whenever like ESA tweeted like, "Oh, we've got our biggest announcement ever coming up tomorrow. Like, you guys want to guess what it's gonna be?" And then the top reply to the tweet was just more Mario 64.
Poetic.
Yeah.
That was really funny.
Isn't it bad and wrong?
But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say.
You made it sound like there was something else to say.
I thought I did, and then I. Yeah.
Everyone, I just want to let you know I have nothing to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm gonna mute and deafen for a few minutes.
Alright.
All right, indeed.
Alright. Do we have any other comments about like break the record or
No.
GSA?
I just
Leave it
want to
on
say,
topic.
I probably out of anyone here, I'm the biggest like Mario 64 fanboy probably. I actually enjoy watching
Wow.
120 Star. And the
Okay.
event is very comfy. I like putting it on. I put it on this morning while I was eating some breakfast. It was nice. And then it kind of got boring because all of the runners actually left. So I just saw one person doing like Womp's Fortress. And I'm like, okay. At this point, I just rather watch normal Mario 64 stream. But I think it is a cool event. I think the idea of money is a whole different conversation.
Honestly, I honestly wouldn't mind if it happened again with some other thing. Like, I guess one of the reasons that I do complain is just because I'm not really a big fan of 120 Star, and like all of like these big efforts have been focused all towards that recently. So, but it would be cool to see if it happened with something else. I probably will soon after this, considering Cheese just won like $15,000 off of a single run. So.
I kind of want to give a bit of a dissenting opinion here. I actually like the 1v1 race format, and I know that's weird. It's different than the opinion people like to have, right? But as someone who has a very hard time, I would say focusing on dedicated PB attempts, having this 1v1 race format is very fun for me, I guess I could say, because it allows me to just focus in and play like super aggressive for an entire run, which is not something that I could do at all outside of that 1v1 race environment. Even when I'm doing, PB attempts offline or online, like I'm never in that same mindset as I am in a race where I'm just like, okay, especially when I'm playing against someone who's faster than me. I have to just think like, oh, I have to play as aggressive as I possibly can the entire time. And I like that. And I think that's a lot of fun. There are many other problems with the 1v1 format that I will totally admit to, but I can never get myself into that same frame of mind, like unless I'm in one of these, 1v1 races that I think that's the reason I joined GSA. Like I just have a lot of fun with the format.
Bingo is fun because Bingo has player matchups. Like legitimate interactions that you can keep in mind about specific opponents. That's a thing that speedrunning 1v1 unfortunately misses out on.
That's kind of cool. That's actually kind of true because you can kind of get inside your opponent's head a little bit based on who they are.
Yeah,
I think with your routing.
if you know this person is not comfortable at all with berries, so let's not contest berries and win on berries later, stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, I've said throughout my time playing Bingo that if a person went out of their way to pay attention, that I do the same things every single time, and that if you just notice, you could just beat me through execution because people are probably going to have better execution than me in Bingo.
Yeah. There's always something to be said for no resets and how they can help.
Well, the no resets are
But in a tournament,
anyway.
yeah, in a tournament setting, there's so many different problems that arise, especially if there's a significant skill difference between the players. Because then it's just usually not entertaining at all to watch, because there's two people doing a no reset. Everyone knows who's going to win, so unless someone's PC literally breaks.
Anyone know Italian here?
Niet.
Buongiorno.
I just want to
That was,
say
that was
Oh,
Russian, but
Lami.
okay.
on the idea of having someone's PC break,
Pepperoni.
kind of a relevant story. But I remember when GSA announced their first Celeste tourney, and I remember I signed up for it. It had a small prize pool, and it's literally I remember I was racing Blue Eye in round 1, and it's literally the week of the match my computer broke, and I had to play on on my sister's computer. And I also remember that GSA got really mad at me because I was significantly ahead and it was a really bad run, and for some reason I remember I did something really dumb where I got 7B cassette and I quit out to main menu and I opened a new file and typed lol and then just went back to the game. Something really dumb.
Weird flex, but okay.
Yeah.
Did you win?
I did win.
Yeah.
Dang. That's a flex.
That's definitely a flex.
But it happens. It happens.
Yo, that is a wizard in chat.
I remember in the Speed Gaming tournament when people try to like sandbag as much as possible by collecting as many berries as possible.
Yeah.
That was going
Yeah.
on. Those are the good old days.
Oh, this is something I've only heard Evans talk about, but the next thing that I really want to see develop in Celeste speedrunning, which I think would be so cool, which, like I said, it's just an idea that I've heard him pretty much alone talk about, is it's pretty much like a score run, I guess, with the way that he talked about it. But like he had the idea of running Celeste sub 30 with as many berries as possible.
Oh yeah.
Like
I've heard
how
him say
how many
that,
how many
yeah.
berries you can get and still finish in under 30 minutes. That seems like
Zero.
such a cool idea to me.
All right, 0.
I mean, my-
and I'm
I
at for
could-
32.
I think I have a solid PB of 3. I can at least submit.
Nice, nice.
I know Phoenix gets 2.
Now, Phoenix is like 5.
I mean, I've always said in Celeste, I think partial berry routing would be interesting, because I mean, I think that's always cool about like routing in different games. I mean, for example, just because it's on my mind, because we just talked about it, Super Mario 64 70 star, like which stars are the fastest? And I remember it's like, and how different. There's like a really dumb route you can do at the start called like Island Hop, which like changes the route just a little bit if you do it, but if you don't, that's like fine. And like the route is completely different, and you literally lose like 2 seconds. Obviously, like routing for that in Celeste, like actually waiting how long berries take. Like if someone was a real
berry
bingo
timing.
fanatic, they could do that. But like I feel like it would just be awful to run.
There is some incredibly cool routing as far as like something like that you were saying, like in Monkey Ball, basically, where there's a couple. The long story short is you want to play the longest stage in each world last to let the cutscene load while you're in the last stage. And so there's some interesting routing based on like which stage you want to let take the longest. And there's some like there is really cool routes that you can do where you basically go for insane strats on certain levels to make it shorter and take another level as the like your load manip level. So you have to like totally commit to playing another level like last and hitting this like super crazy strat on an earlier level. And just I don't know, there's just so much variance you can do there, just based on like how crazy you want your strats to be. So like every like different players will play the worlds like entirely differently based on the strats they go for. It's just I don't know, that's really cool to me. I like that kind of like, you know, all in kind of routing.
Yeah.
Just not something I really see in Celeste. Celeste does some cool routing too with the B-sides though. I do think that's not something I should take for granted. It
That's
is pretty
true.
neat.
Didn't people run like 69 berries? Isn't that like the only like
Yes.
partial berry routing that people have done?
That was I was a
69
part of the
berries.
first wave of that, and that was a lot of fun. Just routing which berries would be like. I mean I don't think anyone's fully routed out the 69 fastest berries, but
But it's at least probably the only time people have dabbled with it.
all right. Yeah, maybe it could be cool to see to see more of that.
But yeah, it's something I just remembered. Do we want to answer the one question that we received from Spirity? I think it's a pretty decent question.
What was the question?
From
Yeah.
what you tweeted out.
That seems good.
It was asking what the origin of our usernames are.
Oh, I have
The reason
no,
and the
mine's
reason
not
I like
in
the
there.
idea. Well, first of all, I know what Phil's username is. Mine is kind of interesting as well. So,
I heard,
I
I heard
guess I
Feld's
can get-
story
I
like
can get
3
mine out
times
of the
and I
way.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Freddy.
Mine's self-explanatory.
Yeah, it's your name.
And Bunny.
So like I said, this has to do with like my gaming backgrounds. Like I said before speedrunning, I played Melee for 2 years. The thing in gaming that actually led me to playing Melee was actually just based off of like this group of friends that I'd met on Team Fortress 2, which is basically like the first game that I'd spent a bunch of time playing. That game was like my life from like 7th grade to like 10th grade basically. I have like 4,000 hours in that game over like since like 2013 I think playing. But I met like this group of people that I like talk to on Skype every day on like this TF2 trade server. It's like the stupidest place to meet like your best friends is on like a TF2 trade server. It's like a Minecraft map. I feel like it's such a weird place to like meet the people that I spend the most time with. But yeah, like it ended up becoming like my IRL friends just because we talked so much. I think after 2 years of knowing each other, we started hanging out because like we live close to each other. Like we just found the server because it's like hosted locally to where we live and we have low ping for it, so it kind of makes sense that it would happen. But yeah, like we just started hanging out and it basically transitioned from like an online friend group to an IRL friend group. They're basically my main IRL friends now. And they play Melee just because like really close to where they live, they have an active scene.
Mhm.
Well, out of these people that I ended up getting into a large like friend group with through like TF2, like at the time, my username back then, it hadn't really settled into anything because like I was just like changing it on Steam every day because I didn't really have like a online persona, I guess. But at some point, there was like this like thing going in our community where we would all just like, I think we were doing like some event in like a server we were on. We all changed our name to Pokemon. We just like all picked one, and so I just like made my name Flareon, and that was like the first name that they knew me as, and that lasted for like quite a while. Like they're probably the only people that have ever like called me Flareon, but like there's this one person that I met for the first time that was like someone that they went to school with, that they started like getting added to our Skype calls. And like they like upon meeting me, because at the time like I already have like kind of a baby voice. Just imagine what I sounded like in like 2013. It was crazy. There's like like he would like tease me for like not seriously, but like for like being like a baby, I guess, for certain things. Like not just my voice, but also because like I think at the time that this username originated, wherever he called me Flarebear, was I'm pretty sure I was literally playing Roblox, and that was another reason that he was like teasing me for being a child. But like he just for some reason thought of the idea of calling me like Flarebear as like a baby name whenever my username was Flare. I'm like, oh Flarebear playing Roblox, you having fun? That was like basically how it started, like literally like him making fun of me, and I was like, yo, that name's kind of clever, I might keep that. And then like I put it on, and then I put it on. I was like, this is like literally like just some random like name that he just thought of randomly to tease me. Like when am I gonna take this off and actually come up with an identity? And like every year I'd be like, all right, I might finally get rid of it soon. And then that would just keep happening, and then I'd just like realize it's like, nah, it's sticking. It's stuck. It's been like 3 years. I'm keeping it. That's mine.
Nice.
It was an IRL friend making fun of me for being a child.
Bravey Flarebear.
I think it personifies my identity well. Now it's Flarebear SR. Yes,
Oh,
Flarebear
yeah.
Senior.
Quick
He's no longer a
interjection.
child. He is Flarebear Senior.
Quick interjection about the SR. I am personally not a fan of that cosmetically at all.
It sucks.
Adding the
I mean, I'll
SR
agree
in
with
the
you.
name.
I just don't know a better choice that I have. Remember at STDQ 18 when I had a Hat in Time run and I made the sorry mistake of making my Twitch URL Flarebear OO?
That's why I
That was a
followed you,
mistake.
actually.
That continued to haunt me because
Oh
the
my
AGDQ.
God.
Oh my god. Okay, this is so dumb. I need to rant for like 2 seconds. So I had 2 runs in AGDQ at the most recent event, right? One was the very first
Yeah.
run of the event, and one was on Friday morning, which is like near the end of the week. So for Hat, I didn't realize because you just run right into it. Like they basically start the event by counting you down before you even have a chance to talk because it's the opener. And
Yeah.
I never took the time to notice that they had my Twitch URL as Flarebear OO still. I changed it immediately after SGDQ 18, which was a year and a half ago, because I realized how stupid it was that I had that as my URL for like this big GDQ run that I had. So I changed to Flarebear SR like immediately after that. So I've had it for a year and a half, like at the time of AGDQ. And on that run, like I said, they had it as Flarebear OO still after all that time. Thankfully, I had 2 friends in the crowd, one of which is the tech volunteer, who ran up onto the stage and like told them like while I was in the first level, like, hey, his URL's wrong. So thankfully they noticed, and that didn't
Amazing.
like that wasn't there for the entire run. That would have been a disaster. Cause like
Yeah.
I got so many Twitch followers from that run. Like just imagine if my URL was Flarebear OO. That would have actually been so sad. But yes, they fixed that, right? They went up and told them 2 minutes in the run, like, hey, this URL is wrong. You need to change it. On Friday, like, I'm doing, like, introductory for the run. We're talking, like, TJH is explaining something. I look down at the monitor on my right where you can see, like, the stream, like, what it looks like from their perspective. And I see that it says Flarebear OO again. And I'm like,
Oh my God.
God.
they just changed it on Monday for my first run. Like, how did they make this mistake again? And so I literally interrupt Tej and I point over to the stream tech while I'm on stream and I say, hey, my URL's wrong. Can you fix that, please?
Oh my god.
Like, it was so dumb. Like, I don't know how they made the mistake of like changing it back. Like, because I'm pretty sure it's with your registration. Because like, if you're a runner, you have to put that information when you submit. So I don't know how
Yeah.
that.
I mean, probably. I don't know. I'm not GDQ tech, but what's probably going on is they probably store like your profile in like some database, and then when they do like their software for the overlay, they load in that data, but then they can manually change it like in the actual overlay. So what happened is on Monday they loaded the thing they had in the database, and then they changed it on stream, but they didn't
So
change it on the
It was
database.
defaulted to that,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
just last minute changed it because they're in the middle of the run, I guess, and they never took the time
Exactly.
to change what it was actually stored as. All right.
Exactly.
I-
Yeah, that's probably what happened. That's probably what happened. Because that's what I do for bingo. I have to change people's color all the fucking time, but I never like save them if they
That's the story
change their color.
Of Flareon, Flarebear SR, Flarebear OWO.
Brady _ Flarebear _ I'm
Underscore.
watching.
I should probably throw Brady in my username somewhere, just so that I can get rid of the SR and have something not be taken.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Sushi, I do not know what your name comes from.
my
I've never-
username
Other than the first letter.
M Matthew, my first name. Sushi. I was making a Webkins account as a wee
Oh,
lad.
I love it. Webkins is sick.
And I don't remember if at the time my mom was eating sushi or she just chose the word sushi. I think it's the first one. But she just made the username for me. And that's what it's been.
Your mom just typed M Sushi for you?
Yes, yes.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
so
nutty.
insane. Oh my god.
Based mom sushi.
Because I'm here like, I'm here
Dude,
just
I
trying
did-
like first name, last name. And I'm like, what? That's taken? What? Someone in the world has my exact name?
I'm so glad you just said that. That reminded me I have a bonus story whenever we get to my turn then.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
I'll just get mine out of the way, I
Did
guess.
your mom pick it out for you?
Guys, I'm gonna get bullied.
Amazing. I don't know, mine's kind of like, we used to play a lot of, like back when I was, I don't know, 12, 13. I used to play a lot of Worms Revolution with my friends,
Oh.
like local friends, like buddies
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
in my village. And, you know, we made it like, in Worms you can like make teams and like name your worms, like you can give them names. And we always did that, but one day when we launched the game, for some reason all like our teams were deleted. So we just like, because we didn't want to take the time to make new ones, we just like played with standard ones. And the team that I played with had like one of the standard worms was called Oddbud.
Wait,
And
really?
I actually made like the nuttiest play with him ever. I like threw Molotov, and we played on like a map where there was like a big tower in the middle, and the tower was already like completely destroyed though, because you know we blew it up. But apparently there was like one pixel still left, so I throw Molotov and it collides with that one pixel, and the fire like gets transported by the wind over to under like two worms of my opponent, and like it burns the ground on them and they fall in the water. And I was like, dude, that was literally the sickest play ever. And
So you
I
just
was like,
decided to keep
Remem-
that word
remember the
username
name.
forever.
yeah, and I was just like, no, I just saw it said like I think it said it made like a, I don't know, I think in Worms like when you do like certain stuff, like it gives like shoutouts sometimes, so it said like, I don't know, like Oddbud was legendary or some shit. I was like, oh, Oddbud, that sounds kind of funny. That's all I thought. Like I'm just like, yeah, like that's funny.
Today I learned
That's
Oddbud
cool.
is a standard generated worm's name.
That's epic.
Yeah,
That's so sick.
Yeah,
and
it's
that's how I went. And then I just used. I think before that I used to like just used like Koopa, like random numbers because I like Koopas and Mario. And then
Yeah.
after that day I was Oddbud for the rest of time, since like I'm 12. I'm not like 23, so.
That's pretty cool. Alright, Fel, so you want to save your story for last? Or you want to go right now?
Sure, why not? We can save it for last because I have a bonus
Fine.
story as well as the story. All
Yeah,
about
I'm gonna guess your story's better than mine.
Well, maybe, but we'll see.
Well, of course, the name itself, quite. You might think that's just quite obvious, right? I have an eye color. Yep, that's it. Done.
Nice.
But there's like a small story behind it, why I came up with that name itself. So I'll just throw that in instead.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Were you born in 1995?
How did you know?
Alright, cool. Next part of the story, go on.
I'm old. Yeah, side note, I'm reaching the quarter century this year, so I'm old. But anyway,
Nice.
I think that was like a second year high school I think that's middle school for US people. I was like 13, 14. European schools are
14 was when I
different.
started high school.
Yeah. All right. So that was a year where I kind of tried to fit in, we had a new class and everything, so I tried to find some people to get along with, and there was this like group of guys who were really into soccer, and I was totally not, but I wanted to fit in, so now I like soccer all of a sudden. And they always used some nicknames for me, in Dutch, of course, which were based off my first name. And I think in the first few iterations of nicknames were just variations of that nickname they gave me, because I thought it was cool because it made me feel like I fit in.
Nice.
And sometimes they were taken at 95, easy job. But my first actual nickname was a typo. That's what it was. Something I thought, so great. That was my RuneScape account actually. So I thought they called me Twanio, based on my first name, which is Twan. And I thought I typed that in. I smashed on enter. It's like, I don't need to add numbers. I just hit the jackpot of nicknames. That's.
Oh no.
And I mistyped the I and the O, so I was now Twanoe, which is lame. For those who. So, and I think right when I quit RuneScape and went into Steam and all that, I wanted something else just to get rid of that group, because at that point I noticed that those people were really into like smoking and drinking at 14, 15, and I had zero interest in that. Like during those years, I noticed that they were not, that I was actually just trying to fit in. So I distanced myself slowly from them, and as a result, I wanted to come up with a new nickname that was not tied to them at any rate, and could somehow relate back to me. So I spent like a few weeks actually trying to think of names, and I ended up just using this because it sounded cool and it had my eye color in it.
So basically, it was a resort of not being able to think of anything else. You're just like, all right, I have blue eyes. I'll be blue eyes.
Yeah, it's Blue Eye White Dragon. People will just relate it to Yu-Gi-Oh, and they'll pretend that was the reason.
Yeah, out of
brain.
all the people that I've asked for how they got their name, like I feel like some of the most common things was just like, I was in a rush to play something and I couldn't think of anything, so I made a name that I kept for 10 years that had no thought put into it. Like I think a big example of that is one that I've heard is YP Yoshi Pro, like, because I guess based off of like what he does, you might be confused as to why his name is Yoshi Pro or like has Yoshi in it. And like I think I remember him telling me that he wanted to log on to something like a game for the first time, and so he just made like, he was like really young at the time, and so he just like thought of like something super dumb and generic that like a 12-year-old would come up with, like Gamer Pro, and it was like obvious, and it was like obviously taken. So he just like what's the first word that comes to my head, that which for some reason was Yoshi. Like I find it funny that like the name that YP has is very fitting, that it was made by him just like not thinking.
Yeah, sometimes those names just stick around the best.
Yeah, I think it personifies him well, even though he has nothing to do with Yoshi.
What I really like as well is now in Dota, if I'm in a Dutch stack, they actually use the literal translation in Dutch for my name, and that makes me feel really good. I don't know, it's an actual thing in the community as well.
I feel like the other most common like name origin story that I've heard from people, which is one that I share, is just like a name that you got from like nicknames that people called you, that like you got like called at school or by like your IRL friends.
Yeah,
I feel like that one's also pretty common.
I think my very first username
just
has
have
to do
those
with
two
school,
mashed
but it
together.
wasn't like a nickname.
Lori,
yeah.
you want to go?
I mean, mine's basically my name. I don't really have much to say about it.
Wow, that sort of really brought me
it's
to tears, Lori.
self-explanatory.
But I mean,
Gosh.
I guess I could talk about, I don't know, where like my username
D Bunnykins.
started, I guess.
What is the D? Where's the D? I don't know if I actually know the answer to that.
Oh, you know where to do it.
Hold on, wait. Fuck. The D is a middle name that I'm not going to say yet because someone.
Look,
but
even her internet knows she's saying something confidential. It's cutting her out.
I'll type it in chat. There you go.
Diane.
Diane.
But I didn't start anywhere near this username. What happened was, have you guys heard of the game Telephone?
Yes.
Okay, so we were like 10 or 11. So it was 2012. So I was 10. And I was playing that game at a summer camp, and then somebody said Justin Bieber because baby was kind of the thing to like shit on at the time.
God, that would have been
We
so
were-
funny if I was 11.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what happened was we ended the set so we played Telephone. The entry word was Justin Bieber, and the name that came out at the end was Jello Beaver. So like a year later, when I was like making accounts online on stuff, that name came to my mind, and I used that from like 2013 to 2017.
Oh, wow.
When I was like, starting to like, I was like 15 or so. I was getting older, and I was like, I wanted to change it because it was old. And it was around the time where I was fiddling with my identity a lot. So I basically made what is the same thing with my name, but it was faithful to my last name, but I kept Beaver in there. So it was Lori D. Beaver, except there was an E after the D, like that, because this is my actual last name. So it was
Dogs.
there you go. And then about a year later, furry shit. And a lot of people were like, and I was like, I finally got an art of. I was starting to like, it was, I think because of a random exchange I had with one person, I finally had art of like the rabbit that my account is associated with today. And people were like, wait, how do you have a rabbit if your name is Beaver? So I just tried to think of a way to keep the initials that my username has, LD,
Okay.
changing the animal from Beaver to Bunny. And
That worked out pretty well, huh?
Yeah.
Dab.
And baby as well.
I must have first seen you like as soon as you started using your final username.
Yeah,
Then
I think so, because I found you summer 2018, and I changed to the current one in April 2018.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I know we're looking to wrap up pretty soon, so I guess I can tell my story and then we can
Yeah.
finish up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the story that I've told about my name, which is not super remarkable, but my name does have an origin. Is basically when I was a child, or it was like probably like entering middle school kind of era, like 6th, 7th grade. I'm still really into fantasy books, but I just used to be like really obsessed with like books about like wolves, and that was cool. So one of my favorite books that I read was a book called The Sight, and it was just all about, it was from the point of view of these wolves. And my favorite character was in that book was named Fell, and he was he was a wolf without a pack, where what they called a curl in that book. So I just became Fell the Curl. I just kind of tagged it on. It was around the same time as I first got my PlayStation 3. I had created like a PlayStation Online account, and I was just so like obsessed with this book at that point. Like I just became Fell the Curl, and that kind of stuck. And I've eventually shortened it to Fell, which I like a lot more aesthetically. I think it sounds better, and it looks a lot better than the whole thing. But it has essentially, I don't know, it's just weird how ingrained Fell has become into my like identity as a person. Like I've met up with a bunch of people that I've met online that refer to me in real life as Fell, and it just feels so natural to just respond to that. which I'm sure you guys can relate to as well.
You seem like a fell. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Seemed pretty fell.
But anyway,
You said it was called The Site?
yeah, it was called The Site. It was by an author called David Clement Davies. It also has a sequel, which is just called Fell, in which he's the only main character. Anyway, I was going to tell a bonus story about the alias I used before, after Fell, but also before Fell at the same time. Because I was originally Fell, as I said, back when I first got my PlayStation. However, shortly after that happened, I got my PlayStation, the whole, like, PlayStation getting hacked and millions of people's credit cards getting, like, really, like, leaked. That happened around that time. And so I, like a lot of other people, traded in my PlayStation for an Xbox, just because of the massive security risk or whatever. And basically, at that point, I had to create a new name. And I was considering, do I want to change my name off of Fell, or do I want to keep Fell as the same thing? And once you get Xbox Live, you get a single free name change from the default name they give you, and the default names are terrible. So yeah, it's just left as this default thing, and you have a single chance to change your name for free, or else you have to pay for it. So as I was pondering this over the course of a couple weeks, I didn't really have anything particular in mind. I came home from lacrosse practice one day, and my stepbrother was just sitting on the couch, and he was just laughing. And it turned out he had changed my name for me.
Oh.
And this was the name that I ended up just rolling with for years.
And he used the one-time name change that you could do for free?
Yes.
Oh my god.
And this was the name I actually just rolled with for many years. The Flaming Sack.
You cut out
Forever.
Excuse you.
For a while, I was just the Flaming
sorry.
Sack.
You cut out for me every time you said it. I gotta.
People would call me Sack for short.
Oh no.
I went back to Fell, and that was a good choice.
I can. It definitely seemed more like a fell than a sack, you know what I'm saying?
And I don't know if I can find this section, but this would be great to find out. I searched the Flaming Sack on YouTube at one point, and the clip that I do have absolutely no recollection of, basically was just titled. I don't think it's up on YouTube anymore. It was just titled "The Flaming Sack," and it was just a short video of me getting killed by a care package in Call of Duty. And that's all. That was the only thing, and it was really funny.
It was uploaded by someone else, or you?
Yeah, it was uploaded by someone else. Just a video of me dying to a care package.
It's funny.
I can't find it. Looks like there's somebody named the Flaming Shark that's popped up in the last couple of years on YouTube, and I'm getting all of that when I search this.
I guess I also count that as like a tease username.
Yeah, yeah.
Considering it was literally set in place to prank you.
It was, for sure. I don't know. It was funny. Like, I didn't mind it. Like, it wasn't like a terrible name, but it was definitely. I don't know.
The Flaming Sack. Holy moly.
Yeah. That was literally like I don't know. I had that name for multiple years.
When did you finally get rid of that?
Oh, that would be when I got into games that were not on Xbox Live. As I said, I moved from Call of Duty. What?
Which year?
Probably sophomore year of high school. Oh, actually, yes. I can tell another story. Kind of. This is also very short, so don't worry. The transition away from... There was an intermediary name. Because sophomore year of high school, like end of freshman year, start of sophomore year of high school, I discovered The Last Airbender. I had never seen it before.
Ooh.
That show changed my life.
That show is amazing.
In particular, my favorite character, Katara. I adopted her name in a couple various different games. There's a mobile game called Brave Frontier, which no one should ever play, but it was awesome. That I kind of adopted the name Katara in that, and I went by that in a couple different like online communities that I was into as well. My Reddit username also has something to do with Katara. And then from there, I What was the first game I switched back to? It was Vainglory. When I got into Vainglory, I switched back to Fell because I did not want to put the Flaming Sack as my username. So that was the first time that I think that was like sophomore, maybe junior year of high school that I finally transitioned back into Fell, and I've just kind of never looked back.
Yeah, I
And
will
there's
say.
there is the Evergoose story, but I've talked enough, so I can leave that for another time.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
The
I think
Evergoose story is a good one though.
we're
I will
just.
say what really elevates the name is the fact that you felt the need to like put a that before it. Like Flaming Sack wasn't. No, you were gonna make sure that
I wasn't just the Flaming
It's the
Sack.
Flaming
I was
Sack.
the Flaming Sack.
the one and only, dude.
That's crazy.
I didn't want to say it when I told my story, but I've built up the confidence to say that I did actually have a username before Flareon. I just said that I just like change all the time, and that is true. I kind of did, but it was a My Little Pony character. It was like that for I think a year.
Oh, okay.
That was in like I was in 7th grade, so
Yeah,
give me a break.
Yeah.
we'll give you the break. Don't worry. Depending on which character that is.
Oh, you want to know?
I'm putting you to the test. I'm not judging you because I watched that show a long ass time ago. But like, depending on which one, I will judge you.
I knew it.
My URL, or not my URL, my username was Pinky. That's what it was.
Yikes.
You have fine taste. You're off the hook.
I'm off the hook. Thank God.
It's
I
probably
do believe Sushi wants to say something.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's been a good episode, and I think it's time to wrap it up. So I just want to say
agree.
thank you everyone who watched,
I'm
for
hitting
everyone who
start
joined
streaming.
me.
Anyway, go ahead.
Of course,
Yo,
I
who's
think
sniping the host.
first of all we're doing bingo after this, so we're hosting Oddbod from one content corner to another. You know it. But yeah, of course, we're gonna not have the same 6 people every lineup. I think we have a group of like some people who are gonna stay, but we're gonna mix around people a lot. So obviously follow everyone you see on screen. For the record, we are going to upload all of the VODs to YouTube. So I made a command. Hopefully it works. Yes, there it is. !cc YouTube in chat. I'll try to highlight and preserve all of the content for your content viewing in chat. We also have a Twitter. Our times, I think we're going to try to aim to do the weekends, probably weekly. I think we need to talk about it more as we head forward for the future of this podcast. But obviously, any scheduled live streams are going to be announced over at Twitter. So make sure you check that out. And yeah, it's been a really good first episode.
Thank you for having me on as someone who's not going to be an every week guest. This was fun.
Thank you for being here, the Flaming Sack.
Yeah, I really hope you telling that story doesn't come back to bite you for the rest of the time.
Oh man.
Oh,
see.
It most certainly will.
Yeah, I can also just say this is our first episode. So this was very we experimented quite a bit. So if you have any opinions on how you can better the show, and that goes for anyone here, but also just any viewers in general, feel free to DM me, msushi, on Discord. And yeah, we're going to raid Oddbod.
All right, who are we voting off?
Who do we vote off the island?
Next episode.
That's this is the island.
This is right when we
trial.
run the ad break, like the found out next episode, right before we cut off.
Shouts to Audible at this
We all
point.
vote.
Sorry.
We all vote off. We'll vote who gets to leave the drama island.
Yes, and then they get replaced by someone else next episode.
Anyways,
I'm gonna set up bingo. Bye.
I'm gonna raid. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you around.